Chapter 1006. The other party was not far away, but he gave off a feeling of primal chaos. It was like they were separated by the starry heavens. Darkness and light intertwined, nourishing a powerful treasure sword. Where did you get this painting from? Xiao Chen asked straightforwardly. Chu Chaoyun did not seem to want to waste words. He took a sip of wine and said, "You should have seen someone in the Sky Dome realm. He looks very similar to you and also knows the exclusive martial techniques of the Blue Dragon martial spirit." Xiao Chen's heart skipped a beat. His expression did not change as he nodded to indicate that he had seen this person before. "I found this painting on him." "Found it on him? You must be joking. This person is definitely stronger than you. How could he let you take away this painting so casually? Does he think he is dead?" "Ah, he is indeed dead." Xiao Chen raised his eyebrows. This was a significant shock. This person had always been a knot in Xiao Chen's heart. Xiao Chen had thought that they would have a chance to meet in the future. Unexpectedly, he died just like that. Chu Chaoyun remained calm. He said indifferently, "He is an evil thought formed by the Qing Emperor's cultivation of the good and evil beneficence art. 10,000 years ago, the Qing Emperor struck him with his saber but did not completely kill him. After 10,000 years, he recovered most of his strength. He wanted to go to the deep abyss to fight for the position of the Dark Church's chief church master. However, he was defeated in 3 moves and died. No wonder he looked so similar. It turned out to be an evil thought of the Qing Emperor." However, Xiao Chen still found it hard to believe that he had lost to the Dark Church's chief church master in 3 moves. The Dark Church had branches in all the lower realms. Xiao Chen knew that their headquarters was in the deep abyss demonic world. However, the strength of this chief church master surpassed Xiao Chen's expectations. "How do you know so much?" Xiao Chen looked straight at Chu Chaoyun. Chu Chaoyun smiled gently as he toyed with the wine cup in his hand. The last Tianwu emperor was a good friend of the Qing Emperor in the first place. As a descendant of the dynasty, it is nothing for me to know such information. Precisely because you will know all this sooner or later. However, you have to advance to Martial Emperor first. So, don't die. Don't follow in the footsteps of the Thunder King." Suddenly Xiao Chen said, "You want the heavenly flame's origin that is suppressed in the Blue Dragon Palace, right?" Chu Chaoyun was startled. Clearly, he had not expected Xiao Chen to directly state his purpose. This was the first time his expression changed. "You've been to the Azure Dragon Palace?" However, Xiao Chen immediately realized that his question was pointless. If he had not been there, how could he know that the heavenly flame's origin flame was in the Azure Dragon Palace? Xiao Chen smiled faintly and changed the topic. "Your painting is useless to me. I went to the Yellow Springs Hell, crossed the Sea of Bitterness, and saw the saber light left by the Qing Emperor. The 6 paths of reincarnation are already shattered. There is no longer any meaning to it." Upon hearing that reincarnation was broken, Chu Chaoyun's expression clearly changed. Reincarnation is already broken. Where did the Qing Emperor go in the end? Xiao Chen carefully observed Chu Chaoyun's expression. This was the first time he held the initiative in a conversation with this person. The other party was not as omniscient as he appeared. Like Xiao Chen, Chu Chaoyun was searching for some answers and waiting for an opportunity. "Goodbye. We will meet again if there is a chance." The 2 pieces of information that Xiao Chen revealed made Chu Chaoyun feel suspicious. Unwilling to remain here, he stood up and wanted to leave. "Did I say to let you go?" Xiao Chen put down his wine cup, and his long hair moved without any wind. Ding, ding, don't, don't. A zither-like saber hum resounded. Countless saber winds instantly locked onto the standing Chu Chaoyun. The atmosphere in the floor immediately froze. A storm brewed, erupting in the silence. As Xiao Chen watched Chu Chaoyun get up, he remained silent. The other party had many secrets. He was connected to Xiao Chen in many ways. Xiao Chen had long wanted to figure out what was going on. Back then, how did the Qing Emperor and the Tianwu Emperor become enemies? Why was the heavenly flame's origin flame in the Blue Dragon Palace? Whether the Qing Emperor fell after the Great Battle or if there was something strange going on, the answer seemed to lie with Chu Chaoyun. This time, the other party appeared to be giving Xiao Chen a painting. However, his hidden goal was to see how far Xiao Chen had advanced and how much time he had left to reach Emperor Wu. When Xiao Chen entered the Blue Dragon Palace, he would snatch away the Blue Dragon's origin flame. Chu Chaoyun felt speechless. Did he still think that he was the Xiao Chen from many years ago, the one who defeated him in half a move, coming and going as he pleased? How could there be such an easy thing? If Xiao Chen wanted to leave, he needed to be capable of doing so. Xiao Chen's gaze turned cold, and his killing chi instantly locked onto the other party from all directions. Do you think that I would risk my true body and enter the Haoyan sect, where there are many experts? There will definitely be a fight between us, but not now. Chu Chaoyun smiled faintly. Suddenly, his body turned into a clump of flame and quickly burned into a pile of ashes, leaving only a wooden puppet. Xiao Chen frowned slightly. He had no choice but to scatter the saber winds that filled the entire floor. Then he instantly hid himself. Ao Jiao said from the immortal spirit ring, "Xiao Chen, this person speaks half-truths. You cannot trust him completely." Xiao Chen picked up his wine cup again and took a sip. Then he nodded and said that so-called evil thought of the Qing Emperor might have died at his hands after he was defeated. However, what he said makes some sense. He is probably not the only one waiting for me to open the Blue Dragon Palace. Emperor Wu, who is hiding in the dark, has his eyes on the Blue Dragon Palace as well. Xiao Chen had to make good use of this time to strengthen himself and accumulate accumulations. Otherwise, when the time came, the Blue Dragon Palace that the Qing Emperor left for him would be snatched away. Based on the aura that Chu Chaoyun displayed, even though they had not fought yet, Xiao Chen was sure that the other party's will of primal chaos had already perfectly merged with his will of primal chaos. Xiao Chen also had to quickly deal with his will of cycle. He already had news of the Despair Throne, and his trip to the heavenly starry ocean was imminent. After returning to his peak, Xiao Chen immediately entered closed-door cultivation, preparing to digest the treasures that he could use in the congratulatory gifts. Naturally, the first thing he needed to use was the heavenly ice pearl that his first senior sister gave him. With an additional will, his strength would increase by another level. At the summit, Xiao Chen took out the heavenly ice pearl. Immediately, snow drifted down from the sky. A cold wind howled, picking up the snowflakes and cutting them like knives. This snow is really heavy. I wonder where first senior sister got the heavenly ice pearl. Xiao Chen opened his mouth and directly swallowed the heavenly ice pearl. A chill immediately spread through Xiao Chen's blood, meridians, bones, and limbs. Soon, Xiao Chen's body turned into an ice sculpture. Then he turned into an ice pillar. Xiao Chen's figure could no longer be seen. The sun rose and set. The clouds gathered and parted. Heavy snow drifted down from the summit. 3 days passed. Xiao Chen, who was in the ice pillar, did not move at all. It was like he was in hibernation, not showing any signs of life. After another 3 days, the ice pillar shattered with a "kasi" sound. The heavy snow scattered, and Xiao Chen opened his eyes. A cold light flashed in them, his gaze icy. Compared to 6 days ago, Xiao Chen's aura now had an additional chill to it. Xiao Chen's forehead opened up, and a light flashed. A small ice saber tore through the air and shot out. Everywhere it passed, the mist turned into ice, flickering with an icy light. Then, it circled around and returned to Xiao Chen's sea of consciousness. However, the ice in the air had yet to dissipate. This small saber was the manifestation of Xiao Chen's will of ice. Naturally, it was far from comparable to the immortal will of thunder. However, Xiao Chen only used it as a supplement. He did not have high expectations. He was already very satisfied with such an effect. After the heavenly ice pearl swallowed the heavenly ice pearl, Xiao Chen did not rest. He took out the 200-meter-long true dragon spine. Roar! The roar of a true dragon reverberated on the summit. Dragon might spread out, and an indistinct dragon-shaped image appeared at the summit. It stirred up winds and clouds, forming a thunderstorm. When the Haotian sect elders on the nearby peaks heard the commotion, they all flew out of their peaks. When they saw this mysterious phenomenon, they were greatly startled, their eyes filled with envy. I heard that Xiao Chen received a 200-meter-long true dragon spine as part of the congratulatory gifts. It looks like the rumor of this dragon might is true. He is still called Xiao Chen? That will not do. Now, he is the Blue Dragon King. Furthermore, he is going to Heavenly Star Island to establish his own sect. The sect master even agreed to it. How unfortunate. If only he remained in our Haotian sect. The sect master is already a prime. With a powerful demonic genius at the Emperor realm among the younger generation, the Haotian sect would surpass the 3 holy masters in just a matter of time. Don't overthink this. A person like him is a true dragon. Sooner or later he will surpass Emperor Wu and become a major character of the Kunlun realm. How could he stay in the Haotian sect? Discussions resounded. The many elders of the Haotian sect all showed extremely complicated expressions. At the summit, Xiao Chen was thinking about how to extract the dragon marrow. Aside from the dragon marrow, the remaining true dragon spine was also good stuff. When he went to Heavenly Star Island, he could bury this true dragon spine under the island's peak to nourish the dragon's gate's luck. Most sects had items to gather luck, known as the sect totem. If the totem was destroyed, the sect's luck would plummet. Its destruction would not be far off. The sect totem was extremely important. With the Dragon's Gate's establishment, using the true dragon spine as the totem was very suitable. Xiao Chen estimated that even the totems of the 9 ranks of the great families would not be as grand and noble as this 200-meter-long true dragon spine. Xiao Chen carefully made a small incision at the joint of the spine. Then, with a flip of his palm, he sucked out the dragon marrow in it drop by drop. 1 drop, 2 drops, 3 drops. A total of 100 drops were taken out before the dragon marrow was completely drained. Xiao Chen revealed an expression of wild joy. Yi Chen's gift was exceptionally precious. 100 drops of dragon marrow. How horrifying was that? Dragon marrow strengthened the bones. The bones were the foundation and framework of the physical body. As long as the bones were not damaged, the physical body would never shatter. Many years ago, half a drop of dragon marrow allowed Xiao Chen's bones to undergo a complete transformation, surpassing those of his peers. Now, what kind of level would 100 drops of dragon marrow reach? Xiao Chen did not dare to imagine how much his physical body would improve. Without much thought, Xiao Chen put away the complete true dragon spine. Then, he opened his mouth and sucked, swallowing all 100 drops of dragon marrow floating in the air. Whoosh! Many of the elders staring at the mountain range in the sky outside drooled. 100 drops of dragon marrow swallowed in one go. How extravagant was this? With just 10 drops, their physical bodies could immediately break through, increasing their defenses by more than 50%. The Blue Dragon King truly lives up to his reputation as the Blue Dragon King. If I had 100 drops of dragon marrow, I would definitely not be able to bear to swallow them all in one go. Indeed, dragon marrow is such a precious existence. 1 drop can fetch a sky-high price. The Blue Dragon King swallowed 100 drops in one go. It is like a mountain of treasure vanishing into thin air. Chapter 1007. After consuming 100 drops of dragon marrow, Xiao Chen sat down cross-legged on the summit. Occasionally, a vast and immortal true dragon's roar came from his body. Refining the dragon marrow required a long time. The elders watching the excitement all knew this. They shook their heads and sighed as they left. The dragon's roar echoed on the summit for 10 days before it slowly stopped. Xiao Chen's bones had already changed completely, becoming abnormally hard like dragon bones. While Xiao Chen's appearance did not change, he felt that if he had suffered that startling strike from Di Wuk that day, he would not have lost all his combat prowess. Even if Ao Jiao was not around, Xiao Chen was confident of fighting another battle with the other party. Myriad Heaven Divine Fist, deities descending. Divine light enveloped Xiao Chen's body as he circulated his vital qi. Dragon's roar resounded, and 10 heaven dragon images appeared behind him. This was twice his combat prowess. Xiao Chen continued to increase it, expanding from 10 dragon force to 20 dragon force, quadrupling his combat prowess. Boom! Now that Xiao Chen was confident, He steeled his heart and increased his combat prowess tenfold. 50 heaven dragon images appeared and roared ferociously in unison. Before Shaochen punched, just the might alone caused space to churn like waves, looking like it would shatter at any moment. Tiny cracks appeared in Shaochen's bones, and he felt some pain. He withdrew his fist, and the heaven dragon images vanished. Joy appeared on his face. In the earlier test, Shaochen's body should be able to endure 50 dragon force. As long as he did not attack consecutively, he would only suffer some light injuries. His physical body would be fine. A ruthless look flashed in Shaochen's eyes. He muttered, 50 dragon force. If I meet the blue-robed emperor, I am confident of receiving his killing move. I will not feel any pressure protecting myself. What did 50 dragon force mean? 1 dragon force was 5 million kilograms of force. 10 dragon force was 500 million kilograms of force. 50 dragon force was 250 million kilograms of force. Even peak great grandmaster level martial sages like First Elder Han Qinghe, who had already started refining their heavenly sage laws into heavenly laws, would not be able to withstand it. Shaochen was confident that he could explode his opponent with one punch. At this point, he was already infinitely close to becoming an unrivaled great grandmaster level martial sage. No matter what kind of great grandmaster level martial sage or what cultivation technique they cultivated, as long as they were not quasi-emperors, Shaochen was confident of defeating them. After refining the 100 drops of dragon marrow, he took out the beautiful mountain and river painting, an incomplete immortal equipment. Cultivators needed to spend a lot of time and effort to modify it into a secret treasure before they could use it. Of secret treasures before them. However, this was not as troublesome for Shaochen. And he could use it. His magic power was abundant, so his divine sense could directly enter it. He could brand the spiritual imprint and use it immediately. He unfurled the beautiful mountain and river painting and saw that there were mountains and rivers in the painting. There were white clouds drifting about, and there were rivers and rivers. Thousands of miles of mountains and rivers were all within this painting. Releasing his spiritual sense, Shaochen entered the inner world of the painting, where he saw the spiritual mark left behind by the previous owner. It had already been 100,000 years since the end of the immortal epic. Although it was shaky and looked like it would be extinguished at any moment, it did not dissipate. One could imagine how powerful the previous owner of the picture scroll was. When a cultivator reached the nascent soul realm, there was still the nascent soul transformation, divine transformation, Mahayana, and void refinement. After that, they would transcend the tribulation and become an immortal monarch before ascending to the immortal world. Looking at the spiritual imprint before him, even after hundreds of thousands of years had passed, it was still glowing brightly. The immortal soul had not died yet. The previous owner of the painting had most likely possessed the strength of a high immortal. Even the weakest immortal lord was as strong as a sovereign martial emperor, surpassing the cycle of reincarnation and existing with the world, immortal and undying. Of course, the immortal Tao was destroyed, the immortal realm no longer existed, and the cycle of reincarnation was shattered. Immortals had long lost the ability to live forever. With the arrival of the martial epic, there were no longer any immortals in the world. Only martial arts reigned supreme. Even if an immortal lord came back to life, he would not be a match for the peak strike of a prime, Emperor Wu. This strand of spiritual mark had the appearance of an old man with the air of an immortal. The light it gave off was weak, and he no longer possessed any intelligence. All Shaochen needed to do was to casually touch it, and he would be able to leave his spiritual mark on it. Bang! Just as Shaochen prepared to make a move, the old man before him suddenly opened his eyes. They released a divine light, and a tyrannical strand of spiritual sense flew over. It followed the spiritual mark and entered Shaochen's sea of consciousness. Ha! It has been 100,000 years. This old man did not expect that a casual move I made back then would leave behind a backup plan, allowing me to live for another epoch. This spiritual sense was boundlessly tyrannical. Shaochen felt horrified and flustered. He felt helpless as the other party swallowed up his spiritual sense, slowly vanishing. How can it be like this? I have never heard of a spiritual mark left in an immortal equipment or magic treasure gaining intelligence. When the immortal Tao was destroyed, all the immortals had died long ago. The spiritual mark they left behind had already lost its intelligence as they died. Even if the immortal Tao did not die, 100,000 years was enough to erase the intelligence of any spiritual mark. What had happened so suddenly was simply unimaginable, leaving everyone dumbfounded. Even if you are an immortal lord, there is no way you can swallow me up. Scram. Immortal thunder, eternal will, inextinguishable saber soul, unparalleled sharpness. In the face of danger, Shaochen calmed his mind and charged out with the lightning talisman hidden in his sea of consciousness. The immortal will of thunder and the peak great perfection bladesman's soul immediately surged with electric light, illuminating the entire sea of consciousness. The thunder immortal ancestor's destruction lightning talisman? No, it is a copy. However, it is sufficient to destroy my remnant soul. Damn it! A sharp, miserable shriek rang out. Under the illumination of the electric light containing boundless saber intent, the old man's unstoppable spiritual sense slowly crumbled. When the old man's spiritual sense crumbled, Shaochen suddenly stopped. This was an old antique of the immortal epic. He contained many secrets. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Even if there was some risk, Shaochen wanted to obtain some information from him. The painful howls stopped. The old man's spiritual sense turned into a human figure, trembling weakly in a corner of the sea of consciousness. Shaochen said coldly, "Tell me what I want to know, and I will spare your life, letting you live another epoch." Ha! Live another epoch? You are overthinking. It is hard to defy heaven's will. No one can live another epoch. That is impossible. So, there is no need to threaten me. In any case, I will vanish into thin air soon. The old man's strong desire to live vanished when he saw Shaochen's lightning talisman. It was like he had accepted his fate. He muttered, "It is hard to defy heaven's will. It is hard to defy heaven's will." Shaochen could not understand. He said, "Since you still have your intelligence, I should be able to find an ordinary person without mental energy to possess you. It is hard to defy heaven's will. Do you think I have waited for 100,000 years for someone with magic energy to enter this beautiful mountain and river painting? However, it is someone who just happened to copy the destruction lightning talisman. Do you think this is a coincidence? Even if it were another person, all sorts of accidents would have happened, causing the possession to fail. This is heaven's will. It is hard to defy it. How laughable. I thought that I coincidentally left a drop of immortal blood here and could live another epoch. To think that I waited bitterly for 100,000 years. How laughable. The old man's voice was weak, making his tone sound even more sorrowful. Take this beautiful mountain and river painting. Back then, many king-grade immortal equipment were destroyed in the Great Tribulation. Unexpectedly, this little thing, which I did not care about, remained here for so long. When Shaochen saw the light on the old man's body grow dimmer, he could not help but ask anxiously, "Senior, meeting is fate. Can you tell this junior why the immortal epoch was so strong, where immortal lords could live forever, immortal ancestors could pluck the stars and the moon, and immortal kings could defy heaven and change fate? Why was it destroyed?" Meeting is fate? Ha! You are just an insignificant Yuanian cultivator. What is the point of asking this? As the saying goes, when prosperity reaches its peak, it declines. Life and death come and go in an endless cycle. There is nothing in the world that can flourish forever. This is the heavenly Tao, this is heaven's will. No one can change it. In the past, the Kunlun immortal world was very vast and powerful. It ruled the universe, the origin of the 3,000 great realms. So what? In the end, it could not escape this calamity. The immortal world was destroyed, and the Kunlun immortal world became an abandoned land. The old man's voice grew increasingly weaker until it finally disappeared. The old man did not say much, but the information he revealed was startling, stirring up huge waves in Shaochen's heart for a long time. The 3,000 great realms that the old man mentioned were definitely not the Sky Dome realm, where Shaochen was. That was just an immortal lord's cave. There was an even vaster world outside the Kunlun immortal world. The Kunlun immortal world was originally the central great realm, the origin of the universe. Now it had become an abandoned land. The old man's figure slowly turned illusory, leaving only a spot of green light drifting about. Xiaochen opened his hand and sucked, swallowing up the green spot. There was no other information in the green spot. All the information it contained was about the beautiful mountain and river painting. The powerful experts of the immortal epic were already completely wiped out, no longer leaving any traces of them in the current martial epic. After leaving his spiritual mark, Xiaochen withdrew his spiritual sense from the beautiful mountain and river painting. Then, he followed the old man's method and left a blood mark on his palm. The beautiful mountain and river painting quickly shrank and entered Xiaochen's left palm. Immediately, mountains, rivers, and gushing rivers appeared on his palm, materializing a vast small world. With a thought, the mountains and rivers faded away, and his palm returned to normal. Xiaochen burned his magic energy, and the beautiful mountain and river painting appeared. With a thought, he could move the mountains and rivers in it, controlling the lightning and thunder in it. He could not help revealing a trace of joy on his face. If he could trap someone in this beautiful mountain and river painting, that person would not be able to escape his palm. Xiaochen's magic energy drained away like water, and he felt dizzy. He did not dare to move the beautiful mountain and river painting rashly, so he carefully put it away. The words left by the immortal Tao expert in the beautiful mountain and river painting could only be treated as an interlude in subduing the immortal equipment. He still had to do what he needed to do. Be it the abandoned land or the so-called epic's great calamity, they were all too distant from Xiaochen. They were like legends, too ethereal. Xiaochen still had to keep his feet firmly planted on the ground, raising his cultivation step by step. When he reached the peak one day, all the fog would naturally scatter. After that, Xiaochen took out the Neptune crown that Yao Yan gave him. The expression on his face turned complicated. This was a complete emperor-grade secret treasure, even more precious than the beautiful mountain and river painting. After all, the latter was just an incomplete immortal equipment. It was not as attractive to cultivators as an emperor-grade secret treasure. Chapter 1008. Yao Yan was kind enough to give this emperor-grade secret treasure to Xiaochen. However, it also brought him a huge problem. Perhaps Emperor Wu would not mind. However, anyone who was a blue-robed emperor would definitely be tempted. Whoosh! A figure flew over from a distance. With a flip of his hand, Xiaochen placed Neptune's crown in his universe ring. The person who came was Han Qinghe, who was preparing to retire and advance to the blue-robed emperor realm. Xiaochen's heart sank. What kind of major matter could startle First Elder Han Qinghe, a great grandmaster-level martial sage who was preparing to retire? Han Qinghe appeared very anxious. As he flew over, strong winds howled. When he arrived before Xiaochen, all the winds stopped. Even with such a small detail, Xiaochen could see the strength of this peak great grandmaster-level martial sage. He truly lived up to his name of someone who was about to break through the threshold of the blue-robed emperor realm. Xiaochen smiled and said, "Elder Han, your strength has improved again. You will probably be able to break through the threshold of the blue-robed emperor realm in a year or so." Han Qinghe's expression relaxed slightly. He did not avoid the topic. He smiled and said, "I have only refined a small portion of my heavenly sage laws into heavenly laws. I am still far from reaching the blue-robed emperor realm. However, this time, with the sect master advancing to prime, I am confident of advancing to the blue-robed emperor realm." A prime emperor Wu giving pointers to a peak great grandmaster level martial sage was indeed confident of advancing to the blue-robed emperor realm. In fact, it was possible to advance to the Emperor Wu realm by paying a huge price. However, such an Emperor Wu was too weak. He was not much different from the deity race's martial emperors who relied on faith to advance. He was far from being as strong as Emperor Wu, who broke through by himself. Even 10 such fake Emperor Wu could not compare to one true Emperor Wu. However, no matter how much he improves, he will stop at the blue-robed emperor realm. He is far from comparable to the Blue Dragon King. His future is bright. Han Qinghe paused for a moment. Then, he looked at Xiao Chen and sighed in his heart. He had watched Xiao Chen grow. Xiao Chen's growth speed was legendary. When he first entered the Kunlun realm, he was an insignificant character that even the Haotian sect true inheritors had to look up to. Xiao Chen started in the Haotian sect Qin to gain fame in the savage battlefield. Then he fought with Chen, becoming famous in the Tianwu. On the proud Son of Heaven ranking, Xiao Chen forcefully revealed his identity. With his strength alone, he defeated the outstanding talents of the world and ascended to the top rank of the proud Son of Heaven ranking. Until now, no one had been able to surpass him. After that, Xiao Chen trampled on Di Wuk at the Sage Mark Monument and became famous. After that, he lay low for 2 years. However, the moment he reappeared, he immediately made a name for himself in this age of outstanding talents. Now, he swept through the younger generation of the entire Kunlun continent, forcefully conferred king. His words, "Who dares to say they are not convinced?" were powerful and resonant, making everyone's blood surge. Xiao Chen's title of Blue Dragon King was well-deserved. Even when the 3 primes pressured him, he could not do anything about it. Xiao Chen smiled reservedly and said, "If others call me Blue Dragon King, I can thicken my skin and accept it. However, First Elder, calling me Blue Dragon King is too much for this junior." These words were true. The First Elder before Xiao Chen was a senior worthy of his respect. Even if Xiao Chen became a prime in the future, he would still have to show the necessary etiquette when meeting him. Xiao Chen did not care about what others said. Whether it was right or wrong, etiquette, righteousness, honor, or shame, it was fine as long as he had a balance in his heart. Clearly, Elder Han was very satisfied with Xiao Chen's attitude. Now that Xiao Chen had extraordinary accomplishments, he was filled with pride. However, he did not show any arrogance or haughtiness. In that case, this old man will still address you as before, Brother Xiao Chen, Han Qinghe said with a smile. Xiao Chen nodded and said, "I wonder if First Elder has come personally to discuss something with me?" When Han Qinghe heard that, he slowly withdrew the smile on his face. He said sullenly, "You are in trouble." A group of people from the heavenly starry ocean said that they are the inheritors of Neptune's bloodline. They want you to hand over Neptune's crown. Xiao Chen could not help smiling bitterly. During the king conferral ceremony, he had already guessed that Neptune's crown would attract a lot of trouble. However, he had not expected it to come so quickly. Neptune was once the ruler of the entire oceanic world, able to compete with the Qing Emperor. Even the unrivaled Qing Emperor had to fight with Neptune 3 times before he managed to kill it. Only after that did the Dragon's Gate expand its influence into the heavenly starry ocean. Before that, it had not succeeded. After Neptune died, its rule naturally fell apart. Many of its former marquises claimed to be the inheritors of Neptune's bloodline. Even now, they were still active in the heavenly starry ocean. However, the true inheritor, Neptune's daughter, Princess Qin, sealed herself for some reason, sleeping for 10,000 years without waking up. Hence, although these factions were very diverse, they did not have a true leader. No one was willing to submit to anyone. They were like a pile of loose sand. Compared to the rising stars of the Northern Sea Alliance's Zodiac Hall, they were much weaker. However, if these factions worked together for something, they could not be underestimated, putting significant pressure on others. Otherwise, they would not be able to enter the Haotian sect's gates and would be chased out. Neptune's former subordinates are now divided into 12 factions, the strongest 4. When Neptune was still around, it was conferred kings in the north, south, east, and west, each ruling a sea region. They were the Eastern Sea King, the Western Sea King, the Southern Sea King, and the Northern Sea King. This time, it's still all right. The 4 strongest sects didn't send anyone, but the remaining 7 sects all sent people. Aside from the 4 Sea Kings, Neptune also has 7 marquises under him. They are divided according to the 7 colors of black, white, yellow, green, azure, blue, and purple. They are the black-clad marquis, the white-clad marquis, the yellow-clad marquis, the green-clad marquis, the purple-clad marquis, the blue-clad marquis, and the purple-clad marquis. The ones who came this time are the subordinates of the 7 marquises. Han Qinghe gave a simple explanation of the situation of Neptune's former subordinates to Xiao Qin. The 4 sea kings and the Prince of 7 colors were enough to show how grand the situation was when Neptune was still around. After some thought, Xiao Qin asked, "What is the strength of the 4 sea sovereigns and the 7 colored marquises now?" As the first elder of the Haotian sect, Han Qinghe's sources of information were much broader than Xiao Qian's. He quickly answered, "When Neptune was still around, the 4 sea kings were all at the level of Prime Emperor Wu, and the Prince of 7 colors were all at the level of sovereign martial emperors." When Xiao Qin heard this, he could not help but be flabbergasted. What kind of horrifying faction was this? Back then, the Qing emperor was able to cause Neptune's palace to fall apart. Xiao Qin wondered how he managed to do it. Han Qinghe said unhurriedly, "Naturally, it cannot be compared to back then. The 4 sea kings were only as strong as sovereign martial emperors, and the 7 color marquises were only as strong as greater heavenly Emperor Wu." When Xiao Qin heard this, he could not help but feel a headache coming on. Such strength was not weak at all. If Xiao Qin could unify them, the glory of Neptune might reappear. However, based on Han Qinghe's tone, it seemed like the various sects were now kings. No one was willing to submit to anyone else. Furthermore, there were conflicts and grudges between them. There was no possibility of unifying them. How many people did they send? It is impossible for me to hand over my Neptune crown to them. Xiao Qian's tone was calm, but it had an unquestionable attitude. The Neptune crown was a bona fide emperor-grade secret treasure. Furthermore, it was a secret treasure that Neptune used. It could greatly increase Xiao Qian's strength. Furthermore, the rise of a sect could not do without the existence of an emperor-grade secret treasure. They needed an emperor-grade secret treasure to suppress it. Only then could their conferred land develop. Even if the blue-robed emperor came, Xiao Qian would not hand it over. Even if Emperor Wu came to force Xiao Qian, the saber light that the Qing emperor left behind would make the other party pay a heavy price. Han Qinghe said, "The 7 colored marquises each sent 1 person. They are all peak great grandmaster level martial sages, only slightly weaker than the blue-robed emperor. They came very ferociously, and Shui Lingling is currently receiving them. Let's go. I'll go and see who these people are. They want me to hand over the Neptune crown the moment they open their mouths." The two moved as fast as lightning, heading for the main hall of the Haotian sect's inner city. Soon, they arrived outside the hall. Xiao Qin swept out with his spiritual sense and clearly saw the appearances and cultivations of the 7. The 7 wore robes of various colors. Their robes all had true dragons embroidered on them. They all wore dragon robes, looking very imposing. Before they entered the hall, Xiao Qin smelled gunpowder in this group of people. All sorts of clamoring voices came from within. "Miss Shui, it is best if the Haotian sect can distinguish right from wrong. The Neptune crown is Neptune's emperor-grade secret treasure. Logically speaking, it should be inherited by us, Neptune's descendants. Don't stop us. That's right. We are here today for only one purpose, to get Xiao Qin to hand over the Neptune crown. Otherwise, when the 4 sea monarchs and the 7 colored marquises come together, even if the Ying Tianzong sect is a prime, they can forget about stopping us." Why is Xiao Qin not here yet? Does he really think that he can put on airs with us just because he is the Blue Dragon King? Xiao Qian's conferred land was in the heavenly starry ocean. Shui Lingling did not dare to offend these old factions of the heavenly starry ocean. She could only welcome them with a smile and try to reason with them, hoping that they would take a step back. They even suggested that as long as the 7-colored marquis didn't pursue this matter, the Haotian sect was willing to compensate them. However, the more this was so, the more arrogant these people became. They said that if Xiao Qin did not hand over Neptune's crown, there would be no place for him in the heavenly starry ocean. In the Kunlun continent, he can still be considered some blue dragon king. However, if he goes to the heavenly starry ocean, I guarantee that he will turn from a dragon to a worm. Just one wave will be enough to smash him to death. An old man in black dragon robes spoke with extreme disdain. Of the 7, this person was the sharpest. "You have quite the tone. This Xiao really wants to know how you are going to kill me with a single wave." Do you dare to exchange a move with me? Let's see who is the dragon and who is the worm. Xiao Chen stood outside the palace and felt that something was wrong. These people were simply here to cause trouble. There was no room for negotiation. However, this was intolerable. Sometimes, even if one knew that something was wrong, one should not let others talk about it. One had to ruthlessly slap the face that deserved it. Seeing Xiao Chen enter the palace, Xue Lingling, who was seated in the middle, revealed a surprised expression. She guessed what Xiao Chen had heard from outside. Xiao Chen, show some mercy. Don't kill these people. The Prince of Seven Colors has a large faction in the Heavenly Starry Ocean's Western Sea. You are about to go to Heavenly Star Island. You cannot offend them. Xue Lingling's lips relaxed as she projected her voice to Xiao Chen. After persuading for so long, these 7 people did not budge. Xue Lingling felt very angry and did not stop Xiao Chen. She only wanted him to teach them a lesson and not kill them. If Xiao Chen really wanted the other party to take a step back, just persuading them with kind words was not enough. He needed to display his strength. Xiao Chen nodded slightly. Then he sized up the old man in black dragon robes. Chapter 1009. As a peak great grandmaster level martial sage, one could already start refining heavenly sage laws. However, compared to the first elder Han Qinghe, Xiao Chen was clearly weaker. He had only just started refining and had not even refined half of the heavenly laws. The 7 people sitting on the 2 sides suddenly stood up. Their gazes were like sharp blades piercing into Xiao Chen, trying to see through him. The black-clad old man had a sparse beard. His complexion was flushed, and he looked hale and hearty, not looking old at all. He was not surprised at Xiao Chen's sudden appearance, as if he had expected it long ago. The black-clad old man said sullenly, "Naturally, there is nothing wrong with exchanging moves with you. However, if you lose, you will have to take out Neptune's crown." The other 6 revealed cold smiles as they waited for Xiao Chen to reply. Something is not quite right with the situation. It seems like these old things are purposely trying to provoke you into making a move, Ao Jiao warned from the immortal spirit ring. Xiao Chen's heart skipped a beat. He too felt that something was wrong. What's wrong? Is the so-called Blue Dragon King only this much courage? The green-robed old man mocked with a cold expression. Ao Jiao suggested softly, "It is best to be more careful. It doesn't matter. When one's strength reached a certain level, one could break through with brute force. All schemes and tricks would be useless." Xiao Chen already had this confidence within the great grandmaster-level martial sage realm. He could go with the flow and see what tricks these people had up their sleeves. Xiao Chen raised his head and directly agreed. "If you lose, please leave the Haotian sect. From today onwards, do not appear before me again. Don't worry. You have no chance of victory. Remember to keep your word and prepare to hand over Neptune's crown." The black-clad old man laughed loudly and walked out of the hall. Then he climbed a flight of steps and arrived at an open-air platform at the front. The other 6 passed by Xiao Chen one after another. Then, they looked at Xiao Chen as if they were watching a good show. Arriving at the front desk, the black-clad old man had finished his preparations and was ready to go. He was like a dormant dragon, waiting for the moment to leap up and defeat Xiao Chen in one move. Xiao Chen stood still about 100 meters away from him. The instant his foot landed, his heart calmed down. There was neither joy nor sorrow, and he was as calm as still water. "Let's see what schemes you have for you to be so impudent." The corners of the black-robed old man's lips curled up into a cold smile. A violent dragon roar came from his body as his eyes turned red. His aura suddenly skyrocketed. Along the way, he directly broke through to the blue-robed emperor realm. We, the Prince of Seven Colors, all have the berserk dragon art, a secret technique that Neptune left behind. It can raise one cultivation realm temporarily. I'm a quasi-emperor now, so I can decide victory or defeat in one move. Defeating you is as easy as crushing a bug. Winds and clouds stirred, and the aura spread out in all directions. The blue-robed emperor's aura spread out in all directions, immediately spreading throughout the entire inner city. Inside the inner city, the many Haotian sect disciples revealed shocked expressions. Why would the blue-robed emperor start fighting in the inner city? Furthermore, the killing chi was still so heavy. Could it be that an enemy had invaded? Many figures flew over, heading for the source of the aura. The blue-robed emperor was someone who could stir up a storm. Normally he was very rare. Bush, bush, bush. Soon, hundreds of disciples stopped on the walls and pavilions. When they saw Xiao Chen facing off with the black-clad cultivator, they all had surprised expressions. Unexpectedly, senior brother Xiao Chen, who had just been conferred the Blue Dragon King, was going to make a move against the blue-robed emperor. Shui Lingling was flabbergasted. She immediately wanted to intervene and stop Xiao Chen. However, Han Qinghe stopped her. Don't panic. This kind of fake blue-robed emperor cannot stop Xiao Chen. However, this aura and strength are no different from the blue-robed emperor's. He can definitely bring out the strength of the blue-robed emperor. Shui Lingling was still very worried. Who could have imagined that Neptune left behind such a secret technique that could raise a great grandmaster-level martial sage's cultivation by one cultivation realm? Han Qinghe smiled faintly and said, "Don't worry. He is not the true blue-robed emperor. He only looks impressive. The Berserk Dragon art is such a heaven-defying secret technique. What he obtained is definitely just an incomplete copy. He will not be able to cause much trouble." The black-clad old man felt somewhat astonished. He had displayed the aura of the blue-robed emperor. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen's expression did not change at all. He did not panic at all, unable to find any openings. If this continued, if the black-clad old man could not find any openings or weaknesses, it would not be easy for him to gain an upper hand. The Berserk Dragon art could not be maintained for long. The black-clad old man's Berserk Dragon art was only an incomplete version. If he used it rashly, there would be significant repercussions. The smaller the force, the smaller the damage. The greater the force, the greater the damage. Naturally, the best result would be to find an opening and obtain an easy victory. However, it looked like that was not realistic. Damn it. I can only clash head-on. However, just as the black-clad old man decided to stop looking for an opening and defeat Xiao Chen in one move, Xiao Chen, who was as calm as still water, suddenly took a step forward, not showing any ripples. Roar! When he stepped forward, 50 Heaven Dragon images appeared behind Xiao Chen. They roared ferociously in unison. One dragon force was equivalent to 5,000 tons of force. 50 dragon force circulated on a magnificent scale. When Xiao Chen stepped forward, the ground trembled. In an instant, the world seemed to turn upside down. Space stirred like water. At this moment, the black-robed old man's mind was absent-minded. Xiao Chen found an opportunity. He pushed off the ground and punched. Xiao Chen's azure robes fluttered, and his body was like a berserk dragon charging forward. He was like a hibernating true dragon leaping out of the sea and soaring into the sky. When the black-clad old man recovered his wits, he felt incredibly flustered. The mysterious phenomenon and state that he had stored up power for was no different from Xiao Chen's. It was also a hibernating dragon, taking the meaning of soaring. A black dragon image opened its scarlet eyes behind the black-clad old man as it reared its head back and roared. Unfortunately, the black-clad old man was just one step too slow. After Xiao Chen snatched the initiative, how could he be a match for this battle between two dragons? Furthermore, Xiao Chen was now conferred the Blue Dragon King. With great luck, this black-clad old man's dragon had become an Emperor True Dragon. The King Dao was unparalleled, boundless sharpness, the king of dragons. In terms of sharpness and aura, the black-clad old man surpassed the other party. Given that his strength was higher, the result was easy to imagine. That soaring black dragon leaped forward by 3 meters before roaring miserably and scattering. The black-clad old man's dragon robes tore. Wounds covered his entire body, riddled with bloody wounds. The black-clad old man's punch nearly shattered his bones, dying without a complete corpse. When the black-clad old man punched, one held his head up high and his feet on the ground. His pride was unyielding, and his aura rushed into the sky. The other fell to the ground, moaning in pain, his aura completely gone. It was clear who was the dragon and who was the worm with one glance. Clearly, The other 6 old men had not expected such a result. To think that Xiao Chen also knew a secret technique that could temporarily raise his strength. Based on that aura, it was even more refined than the black-clad old man's berserk dragon art. Attack together. This fellow just used his secret technique and is definitely very weak. This is the best opportunity. A murderous intent flashed in the eyes of the purple-clad old man. The 6 had great tacit understanding. At the same time, they executed the attacks that they had prepared long ago. With such tacit understanding, they unleashed their strongest attacks in an instant. If they had not planned this beforehand, no one would believe it. The smiles on Han Qinghe's and Shui Lingling's faces froze. Clearly, they had not expected these 6 to dare to kill in the Haotian sect. They were extremely bold. Whoosh! The 2's figures flashed, not in a rush to think as they charged over. However, the other party had planned this long ago. Although the 2 were fast, they were still too slow. The 2 could not help feeling anxious. How could Xiao Chen dodge the combined attacks of 6 peak Great Grandmaster level martial sages? 6 colored dragon images howled in the air. In the face of great danger, Xiao Chen's gaze sank. He did not fluster in the face of danger. He turned around and retreated. Xiao Chen's azure robes fluttered. His long sleeves looked like flowers blooming. His fine black hair flowed like a waterfall as he spun around. As Xiao Chen spun, his flawless saber Dao materialized to its limits. A bright moon flew out from his body, 100 miles of peach blossoms danced in the air, a scorching summer's sun hung high in the sky, an autumn wind swept up the fallen leaves, snowflakes fluttered in the air, and a green dragon shadow shot out. There were many mysterious phenomena. As Xiao Chen's feet moved, each turn was a world. When he could no longer retreat or dodge, and the attacks of the 6 closed in, Xiao Chen suddenly stopped moving. His eyes were as clear as the mountain spring. He held the lunar shadow saber horizontally in front of him, and his right hand rested on the saber hilt. This was the stance of Qing emperors drawing the saber. In these few steps, Xiao Chen merged the flawless saber Dao into one, materializing a wondrous scene. At the end, he used the Qing emperors drawing the saber, leaving all the explosive power of the flawless saber Dao in the instant he drew the saber. Shui Lingling's figure had stopped at some point in time in midair. Her eyes glazed over as she looked at Xiao Chen in a daze. What kind of saber technique is this? It was not just Shui Lingling. Han Qinghe and the other Haotian sect disciples were all stunned by this wondrous saber technique, all of them curious. When that saber light was drawn, how stunning would it be? 6 dragon images intersected in the air as the killing moves of the 6 arrived. At the critical moment, Xiao Chen also drew his saber in that instant. The blazing sun hung high in the sky, the withered leaves drifted in the wind. The moon was bright like fire, peach blossoms bloomed everywhere. Snowflakes flew everywhere, and dragon images lingered. The saber lights connected inch by inch. All sorts of scenes appeared in this saber strike. The instant the lunar shadow saber was completely drawn, a kind of glory shocked everyone. Boom! As Qing Emperor executed drawing the saber, the flawless saber Dao turned into a flash of saber light and charged forward. The killing moves of the 6 working together instantly broke. The saber light did not fade, and the glory remained. The 6 people were chopped in half at the waist and died on the spot. They were not as lucky as Diwuk. Xiao Chen, is this the killing move you used to defeat the 10 great Grandmaster-level martial sages of the deity race? Ao Jiao asked in shock from the immortal spirit ring. With this saber strike, Xiao Chen had walked out of his own Dao. This move was sufficient to leave his name in history. Xiao Chen nodded gently. When he broke through the bottleneck of Grandmaster-level martial sage and stepped into Great Grandmaster-level martial sage, he entered a profound state, reaching the state of being one with nature. Xiao Chen's thoughts were ingenious, his comprehension ability extraordinary. All sorts of wondrous ideas flashed in his mind. In that instant, he combined his special characteristics and created this powerful killing move. Xiao Chen had entered the state of being one with nature long ago. When cultivators broke through the bottleneck of a major cultivation realm, they had the opportunity to do so. Chapter 10:10. That was a state that could only be chanced upon and not sought. Even the prime, Emperor Wu, could not enter it as he pleased. How much one could gain in such a state depended on one's accumulations and comprehension ability. For Shao Chen to comprehend this move and send out such a resplendent saber light while in the state of being one with heaven, it was not a coincidence. Rather, it was more accurate to say that the conditions were right. If not for Shao Chen comprehending this move, the 10 great Grandmaster-level deity race great Grandmaster-level martial sages who forged the deity statue would have killed Shao Chen. Originally, Shao Chen had intended to leave this move to deal with Di Wuk during the king conferral ceremony. However, that fellow was too sinister. The divine kingdom's materialization of the illusory had severely injured Shao Chen, not giving him a chance to execute it. Otherwise, without Ao Jiao making a move, Shao Chen could defeat Di Wuk. What is this move called? Ao Jiao asked excitedly. Instant of Glory. In that instant, the saber light materialized all sorts of scenes. It lived up to its name, Instant of Glory. When the black-clad old man lying half dead on the ground saw this scene, he was frightened out of his wits. He used all his might to take out a peak-grade divine flame talisman and quickly fled this place. Seeing the black-clad old man turn into a fiery light and disappear, the disciples on the walls recovered their wits from the light of Shao Chen's move. Shao Chen entered deep thought, frowning heavily. Clearly, the other party was trying to anger him on purpose. Then, the other party used the black-clad old man as bait. Even if he lost, he could take the opportunity to kill Shao Chen. The plan was layered. The goal might not be as simple as taking back Neptune's crown. First, senior sister, I'll go and chase after this person. Don't worry for me. A pair of wings spread out on Shao Chen's back. He instantly executed the Freedom Wings magic skill, so close yet worlds apart. With one step, he appeared 50 kilometers away. Shui Lingling could not help feeling frustrated. Then, she said helplessly, that is a peak-grade divine flame talisman. It is as rare as phoenix feathers and Qilin horns. How can I chase after it? Up in the air, Shao Chen looked around and extended out his spiritual sense. However, he did not find any traces. Without a change in his expression, Zhang Xian changed his direction and activated the world's edge once more. Even a supreme-grade divine flame talisman was only 500 kilometers away. As long as the other party paused for a moment, he would be able to find them with the Freedom Wings. In the northwest of Haotian City, on a mountain peak thousands of miles away, 7 young men dressed in dragon robes of various colors were gathered on the mountaintop, chatting merrily and wittily. High up in the sky, 7 majestic and extraordinary battleships of different colors were hovering. Judging from the quality of the warship and the massive magic cannons on board, it was a Time Emperor-class warship. The 7 young men were all extraordinarily handsome and had noble auras. Their faces carried a natural arrogance. They were all young, but all of them were Grandmaster-level martial sages. They were no weaker than the youths of the Kunlun continent. This was especially so for the leader, a youth in black dragon robes. His aura was extraordinary, comparable to the Iron Hand Sovereign's descendant, Wang Ken, the Underworld Fire Sovereign's descendant, Wei Hua, and other first-rate, outstanding talents of the continent. These 7 people were the young marquises of Neptune's old subordinates, the 7 colored marquises. They were famous in the heavenly starry ocean, known as the 7 heroes of the dragon. The youth in black dragon robes was called Huan Chuyu. He was the leader of the 7 heroes, the strongest of them all. Chuyu, why are the elders not back yet? Whether they succeeded or not, they should have returned with the supreme-grade divine flame talismans, the purple-clad youth said, feeling suspicious. Huan Chuyu smiled and said, there's no need to worry. I've asked around about that Shao Chen. Based on his performance at the King Conferral platform, facing 6 great Grandmaster-level martial sages at the same time is his limit. This time he will definitely die. Not only will he obtain Neptune's crown, but all the treasures on him will also belong to us. The white-clad youth smiled and said, for some reason, the Eastern Sea King's direct descendant is actually willing to give us 6 supreme-grade divine flame talismans. It is indeed strange. If not for these 6 supreme-grade divine flame talismans, We would not dare to take such a risk. He wants to choose something. Furthermore, it will not be Neptune's crown or the congratulatory gift that Xiao Qin received. This is really strange. This person has always been mysterious. Even the current marquises of our various clans treat him as an honored guest. I heard that the other 3 sea kings have deep ties with him as well. For a junior to be able to mingle with so many older generation experts, he is indeed extraordinary. As the 7 discussed, the topic shifted to the Eastern Sea King's direct descendant. Even Huan Chuyu showed a puzzled expression when he mentioned this person. Boom! A clump of fiery light burst forth on the summit. The dying old man, who had been severely injured by Xiao Qin, appeared at the summit. He appeared incredibly weak, continuously vomiting blood. The 7 quickly stopped talking, their expressions changing drastically. Huan Chuyu helped the old man up and asked quickly, "First uncle, why did you come back alone? Where are the other 6 uncles?" The old man heaved a sigh of relief and said weakly, "Let's go quickly." The other 6 worked together, but Xiao Qin chopped them in half with one saber strike. "First uncle, you must be joking. Those were 6 peak great grandmaster level martial sages. How could Xiao Qin kill them with one saber strike?" Huan Chuyu clearly did not believe this. This was simply too exaggerated. The other youths also showed expressions of disbelief. Could it be that Xiao Qin had reached the unrivaled great grandmaster level martial sages at the age of 28? How could this be possible? Normally, only great grandmaster level martial sages who had many fortuitous encounters, lived for at least 300 years, and refined half a heavenly law could reach this level. The old man wanted to continue speaking, but his expression suddenly turned horrified. He took a deep breath and soared into the air. Then, as if he had seen something extremely terrifying, he fled in a hurry. However, just as he soared into the air, he saw a saber light flying at him. It was as bright as the moon, and a bloody hole appeared on his forehead. Blood spurted out like a fountain, and he died on the spot. The 7 distinguished dragon marquises turned around and happened to see the azure-clad Xiao Qin hovering in the air with his hands behind his back and the sea monarch headscarf on his head. "The few of you really made it easy for this Xiao to find you. You sent 7 great grandmaster-level martial sages into the Haotian sect to kill me. If my strength had not soared recently, I might have fallen for your tricks," Xiao Qin said expressionlessly as he glanced at the 7 people in front of him. Under Xiao Qin's gaze, the 7 felt a strange fear, and their bodies trembled slightly. Strangely, this gaze clearly did not contain any killing intent. Huan Chuyu maintained a calm expression as he sent a voice projection. "First uncle might be telling the truth. We should split up and leave as many as we can." Black, white, yellow, green, azure, blue, and purple, 7 beams of light flashed, and the 7 split up into different directions, scattering in all directions. Xiao Qin snorted coldly. After spending so much effort to reach this place after much difficulty, how could he let these 7 people off so easily? The magic energy in Xiao Qin's sea of consciousness burned, and the beautiful mountain and river painting appeared in his left hand. Tall mountains, rivers, and clouds formed in the air. In an instant, the small world's enormous suction force was about to suck in all of the 7 streaks of light that had been shot out. The 7 beams of light retreated and were about to be sucked into the painting. A vast sea rose and fell on the horizon, boundless. At the end of the distant sea, a red sun leaped out of the sea. A vast sword light appeared with the red sun. It was like the rising blazing sun, unblockable and boundlessly vast. When the sword light came out, the mountains, rivers, clouds, and the sky were all forced back. The beautiful mountain and river painting appeared in the air and turned back into a painting, landing in Xiao Qin's palm. The 7 beams of light felt like they received amnesty, taking this opportunity to leave. After the master of that sword light swung his sword, he quickly left, riding on the sea and disappearing without a trace. Xiao Qin remained in the air, not giving chase. He had exhausted all his vital qi and most of his magic energy. He also did not have many heavenly sage laws left. If he continued to chase after this person, he would not gain anything. Looking in the direction that person left, Xiao Qin muttered, How unfortunate. If it were a complete immortal equipment, even if I sent out another 10 sword strikes, I would not be able to save these 7 people. At the same time, Xiao Chen felt very confused. Who exactly was the person who attacked? When the wind scattered, Xiao Chen looked up and saw 7 dragon-shaped warships of various colors in the air. They all turned around and prepared to leave. The 7 heroes of the dragon fled in a hurry and did not board the warships. Right now, the 7 warships had no masters or experts guarding them. How could they possibly escape from under his nose? Xiao Chen opened his left hand, and the beautiful mountain and river painting appeared. Tall mountains, flowing rivers, and lakes materialized in the air. A small world suddenly formed, and he sucked in the 7 king-grade warships with one palm strike. When Xiao Chen flipped his hand over, he saw the 7 peak king-grade warships flying around like headless flies in the world in the painting. With a thought, the world in the painting suddenly turned upside down. The ground was above, and the sky was below. The cultivators in the warships were all caught off guard, falling out and flying around in a fluster. These cultivators were mostly martial monarchs or inferior-grade martial sages. They were somewhat strong. However, in Xiao Chen's eyes, they were not worth mentioning. Xiao Chen was not a bloodthirsty person by nature. When he raised his hand, a repulsive force appeared in the painting, chasing these people out. The cultivators of the gaseous marquises that managed to escape quickly ran away, not daring to linger at all. Although Xiao Chen did not figure out the mastermind behind this incident or what the other party's plan was, he did not come out empty-handed. Even with 7 peak king-grade warships, the headquarters of the 7 colored marquises probably did not have many. It looks like there are more variables in this trip to Heavenly Star Island. As Xiao Chen watched the cultivators scatter, he revealed a contemplative expression as he stood on the summit. After erasing the spiritual mark on the king-grade warships, Xiao Chen unfurled the freedom wings and left this place. In a place not too far away, the 7 heroes of the dragon watched helplessly as Xiao Chen collected their king-grade warships and erased the spiritual mark they left behind. The 7 heroes of the dragon were so anxious that their eyes turned red. A few of them could not hold back and wanted to charge out again. Aside from the flagship Emperor-grade warships, each clan only had 2 or 3 peak king-grade warships. As heirs, they had lost such a king-grade warship. When they returned, they would be severely punished. In the end, Huan Chuyu was the calmer. He stopped the others and said to the black-clad man in the corner, "Leng Xiaofan, did you anticipate this long ago? Otherwise, why would you suddenly appear when we were about to fall for it?" "That's right. You did not have good intentions from the start. You gave us peak divine flame talismans and encouraged us to kill Xiao Chen, but you hid at the side and watched the show." Chapter 10-11. This time, the losses were severe. The others all targeted Leng Xiaofan, berating him. If Xiao Chen were here and saw Leng Xiaofan's appearance, his heart would definitely be shaken. This black-clad person was none other than Leng Ao, whom Xiao Chen had paid special attention to in Neptune's palace. Leng Ao had hidden himself very deeply and had a mysterious background. Leng Xiaofan raised his gaze. For some reason, the others did not dare to say anything. Seeing that the others did not say anything, Leng Xiaofan said indifferently, "I will compensate everyone for the losses this time, including the 7 king-grade warships. As for now, let's go quickly. The experts of the Haotian sect should be making their move soon." After saying that, Leng Xiaofan turned and left, leaving behind the 7 heroes of the dragon exchanging glances with each other. After a long time, Huan Chuyu said, "Let's go. When Xiao Chen arrives at the heavenly starry ocean, we will make him cough up everything with interest. We will let him know that the sea is not something that a blue dragon like him can mess around with." Inside the Haotian sect, by the time Xiao Chen rushed back, everything had already calmed down. Xue Lingling took out 6 peak-grade divine flame talismans and handed them to Xiao Chen, along with the spatial rings of the 6 people. "We found these on the 6 people. These people did indeed plan this. If you go to Heavenly Star Island, you will be in even more trouble. These 6 peak-grade divine flame talismans should be able to save your life at a crucial moment." Xiao Chen had killed the 6 people. Naturally, the most valuable things on them would be handed to Xiao Chen for safekeeping. Peak-grade divine flame talismans were indeed good items for protecting one's life. However, they were extremely difficult to refine. Ordinary divine flame talismans could only travel 50 kilometers at best. They were insufficient for great grandmaster-level martial sages. Peak-grade divine flame talismans that could travel 500 kilometers in an instant were barely sufficient. Xiao Chen gladly accepted them. After thinking for a while, he took out one and called Shui Lingling over. Shui Lingling smiled faintly and did not reject him. "When do you plan to leave?" 3 days later. "In such a hurry?" Shui Lingling asked in surprise. "Leaving in 3 days? That was too much of a rush." Xiao Chen nodded, indicating that he would indeed leave in 3 days. He had originally planned to meditate and cultivate in peace before leaving after making sufficient preparations. However, the sudden turn of events had disrupted Xiao Chen's plans, causing him to feel a sense of crisis. Originally, Heavenly Star Island was already worried that the 3 holy masters were doing something there. Now, there was another one of Neptune's old subordinates. Who knew what they were planning? It was better to set out as soon as possible, lest something unexpected happened. There were too many things to do in 3 days, so Xiao Chen temporarily put aside his cultivation. Xiao Chen counted the black astral coins in his hands once more. He discovered that he had obtained them from killing enemies along the way and the 2,000 black astral coins he originally had. The total amount of black astral coins on Xiao Chen had already reached a horrifying 40 million. Furthermore, this did not include the various secret manuals, medicinal pills, and secret treasures. Xiao Chen took out 20 million black astral coins and started purchasing astral cores on a large scale. For the past 3 days, Xiao Chen's figure could be seen in the various large markets of the Haotian sect. He had purchased all the astral cores. Astral cores had many uses. Be it large-scale formations or the energy of warships, they all required astral cores. Since Xiao Chen intended to make Heavenly Star Island the base of the Dragon's Gate's rise, astral cores were essential. In 3 days, Xiao Chen spent all 20 million black astral coins. Most of the 9 ranks of the great families did not have the boldness to spend all 20 million black astral coins in 3 days. However, Xiao Chen's harvest was considerable as well. He purchased 10,000 inferior-grade astral cores, 3,000 medial-grade astral cores, and even 1,000 of the extremely rare superior-grade astral cores. With so many astral cores, 20 million black astral coins would not have been enough. After all, one inferior-grade astral core could sell for 1,000 black astral coins. With Xiao Chen's identity as the Blue Dragon King, as long as he was within the vicinity of the Bushin Palace, he would receive a 20% discount. Furthermore, some merchant associations wanted to establish a good relationship with him, giving him further discounts. Hence, he managed to obtain so many black astral coins. Yu Chenxi, Jin Lin, Lu Ku, and Xiao Xian had already gathered at the summit of the mountain where Xiao Chen lived. Expectant smiles filled their faces. For the sake of this day, they had prepared for a long time. A purple dragon-shaped warship hovered at the summit of the mountain. It looked extraordinarily mighty, hidden in the clouds, preparing to set sail. This was one of the 7 warships that Xiao Chen snatched. An old man with unfathomable cultivations sat in the recuperation room of the warship. He was a supreme elder sent by Ying Zongtian, a bona fide blue-robed emperor. Shui Lingling was here to send him off. After she left today, she did not know when she would see Xiao Chen again. With this thought, she could not help feeling melancholic. "First senior sister, we are leaving. May we meet again," Xiao Chen said with a cupped fist salute. "Don't be in a rush to leave first. You can wait for a few more people." "There are more people coming?" Jin Lin asked, feeling confused. Xiao Chen felt confused as well. His line of work was not like a child's play, where he could bring away just anyone. Shui Lingling smiled mysteriously and said, "You will know the answer after a while. Of course, if you do not agree, these people will not force you. I am only here to introduce you." For Shui Lingling to personally introduce them, they definitely had a significant background. This piqued Xiao Chen's interest. Who would be willing to travel so far to Heavenly Star Island? Whoosh, whoosh. Soon, 3 figures flew over from the distance. Xiao Chen looked up and saw the appearances of these 3 people from 1 kilometer away. He could not help but raise his eyebrows. How could it be these 3 people? 3 figures, 2 men and 1 woman, descended. They were actually the outstanding talents of the Azura race, Lan Xiaobai, Yu, and the youth that had been following him. Lan Xiaobai performed a cupped fist salute and said, "Brother Xiaochen, I wonder if you can bring 3 more people on this trip?" Yu blinked, waiting for Xiao Chen's answer in anticipation. Lan Xiaobai has experienced many setbacks in the past year or so. He no longer has any desire to compete with Di Wuk. Junior brother Xiao Chen, I can guarantee that he does not have any malicious intent. Shui Lingling sent a voice projection to Xiao Chen. Clearly, she did not want Xiao Chen to lose such a strong assistant. The strength of these 3 went without saying. Xiao Chen was very clear on it. This was especially so for Lan Xiaobai, who was not much weaker than him. However, why would such a person be willing to follow him? Never mind. Since first senior sister introduced me, I better not let her down. I'll bring them along for now. Even if they have other motives, it will be fine as long as they do not clash with me. The Blue Dragon King set sail. With this departure, he stepped into an even vaster sky and world, the vague form of the new Dragon's Gate appearing. The purple warship tore through the clouds and flew towards the vast oceanic world, carrying the dreams of the Blue Dragon King and his friends, disappearing from Shui Lingling's sight. What's wrong, lass? Your heart is flying over as well. At some point, Ying Zongtian had appeared on the summit as Shui Lingling, standing there with a smile. Master, why are you here? Shui Lingling exclaimed. Ying Zongtian smiled and said, What's wrong? Are you the only one allowed to send this fellow off, and I can't? Seeing the strange smile on her master's face, Shui Lingling blushed slightly. She said, You're still smiling? If you keep smiling, I'll toss the Haotian sect out as your dowry. Ying Zongtian laughed loudly and said, Are you talking about that fellow, Xiaochen? As long as you really want to, I'll help you capture that kid and bring him back. Shui Lingling giggled and said, All right, master, go and capture him. Lingling will wait here. Lass, you really dare to say that? Let's go. I'm going to visit some of my old friends and see if I can help you find a good bow. Master is already a supreme martial artist, and your disciple is still carrying a pile of junk. It's really not right. Shui Lingling giggled and said, Master, you are very considerate. The Emperor Yi Shooting Sun Bao, ranked 3rd on the Divine Weapon ranking, I have been eyeing it for a long time. Ying Zongtian's footsteps trembled, and he almost fell. He smiled helplessly and said, You really dare to say that? This bow has been missing for many years. Where can I find it for you? Forget it. Don't talk nonsense. Cultivate harder. The best resources of the Haotian sect will be given to you. Don't leave this fellow too far behind. Otherwise, you won't be able to marry him even if you want to. Ying Zongtian's figure flashed, and he turned into a beam of light, disappearing from the summit. Shui Lingling muttered, You still want to be more serious? In the end, you are still not serious. However, I do have to cultivate harder. Master has already told me everything he knows about cultivation. It would be too much of a pity to waste it. On the day Xiaochen left the Haotian sect, the 3 holy masters' disciples and the others headed in another direction. The strongest experiential training ground in the starry heavens, where the Kunlun realm and the Deep Abyss demonic world intersected, was the astral battlefield. During the Deep Abyss demonic calamity 10,000 years ago, the 18 demon monarchs led the army of the demonic world. They did not pass through the difficult spatial tears to charge into the Kunlun realm. Instead, they opened a path to the Kunlun realm outside the astral domain. They directly smashed through the barrier of the sky, catching the 5 races of the Kunlun realm off guard and inflicting heavy casualties. If not for the Qing Emperor appearing back then, leading the Bushin Palace to turn the tide and chasing the army of the Deep Abyss demonic world to the borders of the Kunlun realm, the consequences would have been dire. However, the astral fortresses that the Deep Abyss demonic world's demons left at the borders were not completely destroyed. After the fall of the Qing Emperor, the deep abyss demonic world's demons made a comeback. They used the astral teleportation formation to re-establish their base at the borders of the astral domain. To prevent such a painful experience from happening again, the 5 races, the humans, deities, ghosts, fiends, and corpses, built their own astral fortresses at the borders of the astral domain as well. The two sides remained in a stalemate for 10,000 years. No one could chase the other out completely. Instead, it formed the famous astral battlefield of the Kunlun realm and the deep abyss demonic world. That was the strongest battlefield in the starry heavens. Without advancing to martial sage, one could not even enter. Even someone as strong as Emperor Wu could fall there. For the past 10,000 years, countless experts from both sides had fought on this battlefield. They either gained fame and glory or died there, dyeing the sky red. However, Xiao Hoju had to go. If he wanted to regain his dignity and take back what belonged to him, he had to take some risks. Feng Wuji and Wan Muyun, who were on good terms with Xiao Hoju, did not want him to go alone, so they accompanied him. Xiao Hozun, who was sending the 3 off, sighed softly. Originally, I planned to wait for you all to become great grandmaster-level martial sages before sending you off together. However, time waits for no man. Xiao Chen suddenly rose up and left the 3 of you behind. If you do not take a gamble, you can only look up at his back forever. Xiao Hoju squeezed out a smile and said, "Don't worry, father. The 3 of us will definitely return alive. The reputation of the 3 holy masters will rise again. Even if he becomes the second Qing emperor, the situation of the 3 holy masters being overshadowed by the glory of the Dragon's Gate 10,000 years ago will not happen. The 3 of us will ensure that the glory of the Holy Land never dies." Chapter 10:12. Feng Wuji felt a lofty aspiration in his heart. The 3 of us are holy scions, but the reputation of the Holy Lands has been declining over the years. We have to go on this trip. The high-ranked demons have long wanted to meet them. Nuan Muyun smiled and did not say anything. She did not have such lofty dreams as the 2. She just went with the flow. If she could help the 2, she would do her best. The warship carried Xiao Hoju's group of 3 through the barrier of the sky, heading for the strongest battlefield in the starry heavens. At the same time, Xingtian's personal disciple led Wei Hua, Wang Can, and the others to pack up and head for the astral battlefield as well. After the ghost races, Xie Zishuan finished wiping the 8 sabers. The mountain monarch sent him off with his gaze before disappearing into the starry heavens. No one had expected Xiao Chen's startling performance at the king conferral ceremony, rising up like a comet and putting so much pressure on the other outstanding talents. Unexpectedly, all of them headed for the astral battlefield ahead of time, all for the sake of catching up to the Blue Dragon King, Xiao Chen. When they advanced to martial emperor in the future, they would compete with Xiao Chen. The influence of this matter was far from this. Later, as the news of these people heading for the astral battlefield spread, a trend formed in the Kunlun continent that all grandmaster-level martial sages could head to the astral battlefield. In this age of geniuses, the flourishing sharpness was displayed vividly. In the god's domain, in the divine kingdom of the heavens, the golden power of faith converged to form a vast ocean. Palaces and pavilions dotted the sky like stars. Di Wuk met with the supreme deity race emperor Forsaken alone. He knelt down and begged the deity emperor to forge a deity statue for him. "You are not even Emperor Wu, yet you want to use the power of faith to raise your strength. In this life, you will be like those fake Emperor Wu, who pretends to be a deity. Think about it yourself. If you really want revenge, you will even have to give up your status as the divine son. In that case, I'll sacrifice 1,000 years of cultivation and use the power of faith to raise you to the level of Emperor Wu. With that, you'll be able to defeat the current Xiao Chen in one move." Emperor Forsaken was expressionless. His true body was shrouded in golden light, and behind him were layers upon layers of small worlds. There were hundreds of millions of ordinary natives who prayed and worshipped him every day, contributing an endless stream of faith power to him. Di Wuk clenched his right fist so tightly that his nails dug into his palm, causing blood to flow out. After a long time, his heart slowly calmed down. Wuk knows his mistake. I will use my own hands to take back the humiliation I've received. The heaven-abandoning deity sovereign revealed a gratified expression. It's good that you know your mistakes. Even if I gave you the cultivation of a martial emperor, it would be meaningless. Exhausting your potential for the sake of a certain person is the stupidest thing to do. Take it. Emperor Forsaken extended his hand and pushed. A shiny golden manual flew towards Diwuk. Myriad Heaven Divine Fist, Forbidden. Diwuk caught the manual. The 4 words, Myriad Heaven Divine Fist, were written on the page. It was no different from the Myriad Heaven Divine Fist that had been circulating outside. However, there was a bloody, forbidden word at the end. It was a ghastly sight, and it gave off a different feeling. This is the complete Myriad Heaven Divine Fist, a forbidden art of my divine race. The ones circulating outside are only incomplete versions. Right after the heaven-abandoning deity sovereign spoke, he handed Diwuk 2 more secret manuals. The same bloody words, forbidden, were carved on the pages. One was a body-tempering cultivation technique, the immortal deity sovereign body, and the other was a sword technique, the heaven-extinguishing sword art. Tomorrow, go to the astral battlefield. Apart from this place, no other training ground will be able to help you cultivate these 3 forbidden arts so quickly. Diwuk put away the 3 forbidden arts and left in silence. Emperor Forsaken heaved a sigh of relief. The Divine Sun was still the Divine Sun. He had never changed. The next day, when Diwuk was about to set off alone, he unexpectedly ran into Goddess Tian Yushi and the 13 keepers at a corner. I will accompany you to the astral battlefield. We are also willing to accompany the Divine Sun to the astral battlefield, the 13 keepers said in unison. After being stunned for a moment, Diwuk's gloomy face finally revealed a smile. In the largest inn of Haotian City, a blue-robed youth with a sword on his back drained his cup of wine and left the money for it. Half drunk and half awake, he muttered, "The astral battlefield. It's time to go back." Everyone had their own story, and everyone had their own pursuits. Geniuses were born in times of prosperity, and heroes were born in troubled times. What was an outstanding talent? If one did not have a heart that dared to temper oneself and gave up on one's pursuits after one failure, one would just be an empty title. After thousands of tempering, even if one lost 100 battles, one's heart would not change. The title of outstanding talent never left. The prologue to the Great Age had already begun long ago. The story on the stage had its highs and lows. As it rose and fell, it played out a vast and majestic play in this age of prosperity. With the outstanding talents around, the Blue Dragon King on the stage had never been lonely. After advancing to great Grandmaster-level martial sage, Shao Chen should have been the outstanding young talent most qualified to enter the astral battlefield. However, under the control of the 3 holy masters, he was tossed far away from the Kunlun continent, to the desolate heavenly Star Island. Only the outstanding talents of the various Grandmaster-level martial sages went to the astral battlefield in advance, taking a path that ran counter to Shao Chen's. No matter how hard they tried, they would not be able to cross paths. However, if a supreme existence looked down on the heavenly wheel of fate, they would discover the 2 paths that ran counter to each other. It was just that they started from one point and turned half a circle, forming a perfect circle and converging again. On the Purple Dragon warship, Shao Chen did not know that his performance at the King Conferral ceremony had triggered a huge change in the younger generation of the entire Kunlun continent. Right now, Shao Chen and Lan Xiaobai stood at the bow of the warship, chatting as they watched the clouds fly by. Speaking of which, why did you not use the transportation formation? There is a transportation formation in the central province that leads directly to the primal chaos domain. To get to Heavenly Star Island, one had to leave the Tianwu domain, cross the primal chaos domain, and then cross the yellow soil demonic garden. Finally, one had to swim across the chaotic demonic sea and head west. Only after crossing the vast ocean and many sea islands could one reach Heavenly Star Island. A Peak King-grade warship would take 3 to 4 months to reach Heavenly Star Island at full speed without stopping. If it were a holy grade warship, it would take twice as long. It would take half a year to arrive. If Xiaochen took the transportation formation and departed from the primal chaos domain, he could save 2 months. Unexpectedly, in the past, there was a transportation formation that led directly to Heavenly Star Island from Bushin Palace. Unfortunately, something happened, and the transportation formation on the island was severely damaged. Furthermore, Bushin Palace had practically abandoned that place. Hence, the transportation formation was as good as not having it. It was no longer of any use. Lan Xiaobai felt very curious. What was Xiaochen thinking when he used the Purple Dragon warship to fly over? The wind blew in front, blowing Xiaochen's hair up. As he looked into the distance, the sky looked pure white. However, there was a lot of dirt and darkness hidden under the pure whiteness. Naturally, Xiaochen had made preparations to purchase astral cores and use the warship to reach Heavenly Star Island. Xiaochen did not know what scheme Neptune's old subordinates were preparing. Based on their arrangements to kill Xiaochen in the Haotian sect, he was sure that they had some backup plans. If Xiaochen's group followed the original plan and used the transportation formation, the other party would probably attack them along the way. In that case, he might as well do the opposite. It would just take a little more time. Coincidentally, he could use this time to digest the energy of the 10 spirit veins' origins and stabilize his cultivation. Of course, Xiaochen could not tell Lan Xiaobai about this for now. So, Xiaochen changed the topic. Let's talk about you. Aren't you busy preparing for the Heroes' Convention to fight against Diwuk? Why are you following me? Lan Xiaobai smiled helplessly. You chopped Diwuk in half during his king conferral ceremony. His prestige plummeted to rock bottom, and he lost all his prestige. Naturally, his Heroes' Convention came to an end. No one will participate. Thinking about it, this made sense. Back then, Diwuk was very famous. Few in the younger generation could match him. When the cultivators of the Kunlun continent talked about how powerful a person was, they even talked about how many moves they could take from Diwuk. However, in a short 1 year, Xiaochen humiliated Diwuk in the Heavenly Ruin Wasteland and chopped him in half during his king conferral ceremony. His prestige plummeted to rock bottom. Holding a Heroes' Convention with such momentum would just be a joke. Lan Xiaobai revealed a desolate expression. Then, he continued, I'm following you to write the Tsing Lung scheme. For the past 1 year or so, I've traveled everywhere. Be it the Ghost Domain, the Fiend Domain, the Corpse Domain, or the vast heavenly starry ocean, I've been given the cold shoulder, even mocking and mocking. In the past, I was too proud. Only after seeing all the experts in the world did I realize how insignificant I am. With my strength, I cannot write the Heroes' Convention. After the King Conferral ceremony, I discovered that although the world is vast, I can only use you to write the Tsing Lung scheme. Lan Xiaobai's frankness surprised Xiaochen. He smiled and said, You are really direct. However, I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you. I do not care about the Tsing Lung scheme, nor am I as ambitious as Diwuk. Lan Xiaobai did not appear surprised. He revealed a faint smile on his fair, handsome face. The Tsing Lung scheme is not just a Heroes' Convention. I want to write the entire martial epic. From the start to now, the glory of the ancient era, the decline of the ancient era, and now, the flourishing age. In terms of ambition, I am much more ambitious than Diwuk. It does not matter whether you agree or not. As long as I follow by your side, I can witness the entire flourishing age and write about it. Seeing Lan Xiaobai's sincere tone and serious expression, Xiaochen could not help feeling some admiration. What Lan Xiaobai wanted to do was probably unprecedented. It would take a lot of effort and time, and it would be fraught with difficulties. Chapter 1013. Xiaochen recalled the words of the powerful expert from the immortal epic in the beautiful mountain and river painting. After flourishing to the extreme, one would decline, unable to escape a calamity. This was the case for the immortal epic. Would the martial epic be the same? If someone really wrote a Tsing Lung scheme, recording the entire history of the martial epic, they might be able to discover something from it. From there, they might be able to avoid the great calamity that was faintly discernible but would definitely come. This would be boundless merit. Very well. If that is the case, I promise to help you finish writing the Tsing Lung scheme. In the future, if there is an opportunity, I will hold a martial Dao tea party and gather all the outstanding talents of this age for you to write it. Lan Xiaobai felt somewhat surprised. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen changed his mind so quickly. So, he quickly expressed his thanks. Just as Lan Xiaobai was about to say something, he suddenly narrowed his eyes and looked to the front. There seems to be a warship with an even stronger aura than the one we are standing on. It is flying over at an extremely fast speed. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said, "It's fine. It's one of us." Soon, everyone in the warship's hold, aside from the Haotian sect's supreme elder, gathered on the deck and looked up at that warship. This is the Dragon's Gate's warship? When the warship got closer, everyone could clearly see the 18 sails, the blue dragon engraved on the hull, and the Dragon's Gate's flag. Everyone recognized it with one glance. TSK. Unexpectedly, so many people came to welcome this fat lord. You are too polite. On the Dragon's Gate's warship, Kim Taho and Lord Jiao stood side by side. Why is this fellow here? Yu Chenxi said, finding it strange when he recognized Kim Taho. Kim Taho giggled and said, "What's wrong? Can't this fat lord come?" This fat lord's Green Dragon Chamber of Commerce has already become famous. I am preparing to set up a branch on Heavenly Star Island to contribute to the prosperity of Heavenly Star Island. Brother Xiaochen, there is no need to thank me. Even Lan Xiaobai could not help saying, Heavenly Star Island is rather desolate. There are plenty of resources in the surroundings, but there has never been a trade route. If such a large merchant association enters, it will definitely be of help. You could not help smiling. She said, "It looks like one cannot judge a book by its cover." After the others left, the fatty carefully told Xiao Chen the truth. "I can't go on any longer. After your king conferral ceremony, my branch and headquarters in the profound domain were all smashed up by someone. They said that I'm not allowed to hang up the Azure Dragon Merchant Association's signboard. Otherwise, I'll smash it every time I see it. I, fatty, am a stubborn person. If I'm not allowed to hang it, I'll hang it. In the end, I'll be smashed every time I hang it." Xiao Chen's face turned cold. Who did it? Miss Ying Qiong could not do anything about the people of the three noble clans. She gave me another sum of money, a very large sum, to follow you to Heavenly Star Island. The people of the three sovereign noble clans had chased after him on his way to being conferred king, so he had no choice but to vent his anger on his friend. They were really going overboard. Xiao Chen consoled, "In that case, come with me to Heavenly Star Island. I want to see who dares to smash the reputation of the Green Dragon Chamber of Commerce in my conferred land. Those people who smashed the signboard of the Green Dragon Chamber of Commerce will smash their lair in the future." Kim Taho smiled, "It's enough to hear you say that. However, Miss Ying Qiong is really interesting. The amount of money she gave me was really huge. There were also all sorts of resources. My space ring couldn't store them all, so I placed them all in the space warehouse of the Dragon's Gate battleship." How much? Fatso was not someone who had never seen money before. If even he said that the amount was huge, then it should be quite a lot. The four Fatso glanced at each other and whispered, "A total of 100 million black astral coins." She said that this amount is the Ying clan's support for you. If you want to use it, you can do so at any time. 100 million black astral coins. Xiao Chen could not help but be flabbergasted. It was probably not as simple as Ying Qiong made it out to be. Such an astronomical sum was probably a tenth of the Ying clan's 10,000 years of accumulation. Even if Xiao Chen succeeded in being conferred king, the Ying clan would not give him such a huge support. This was already enough to hurt the Ying clan. If Xiao Chen had to explain, he could only blame it on Ying Qiong. Why is this girl so good to me? What's wrong? Do you want to use it? If you do, I'll give you half first. Xiao Chen recovered his wits and said, "Just use it. With such resources and your ability, the Green Dragon Chamber of Commerce will definitely be able to rise again." In the primal chaos domain, Leng Xiaofan received news that the ambush had failed. Xiao Chen did not use the transportation formation to leave. Instead, he planned to take the warship to Heavenly Star Island. After thinking for a while, Lung Xiaofan gave an order to cancel the plan and observe the situation. The Dragon's Gate's warship was faster. Since Kim Toho brought the Dragon's Gate's warship, everyone naturally switched to it. Just like that, 1 month passed unhurriedly. The group crossed the primal chaos domain and arrived at the Yellow Soil Demonic Garden. To Xiao Chen's surprise, the journey was peaceful. As the group traveled through the Yellow Soil Demonic Garden, they did not run into any attacks. They arrived at the chaotic demonic sea's shore without a hitch. Xiao Chen had many memories of the chaotic demonic sea. He wondered how Yao Yen, who relied on the 8 Emperor Wu's sacrifice to gain complete control of the primordial treasure Neptune, was doing now. The 8 predecessors had used their lives to place shackles on Yao Yen, shackles that would revitalize the merfolk race. Now, Yao Yen was the merfolk empress and grasped the primordial treasure Neptune, the merfolk race's thorn sovereign circlet, Neptune's scepter, chasing wave shoes, and other emperor-grade secret treasures that Neptune used. Xiao Chen's cultivation had definitely advanced rapidly. Who knew how strong she was now? De Bao, who was at the front, had already excitedly lowered the Dragon's Gate's warship and anchored it in the water. Then he waved his hands and beckoned everyone to board. In the ocean, warships normally traveled in the water. Firstly, it conserved energy and reduced expenditure. Secondly, there were ocean currents in the water. If one made good use of the ocean currents, they would be several times faster than flying in the air, perhaps even more than 10 times faster. I heard that the mysterious merfolk empress has a deep friendship with Brother Xiao. Now that we have arrived at the chaotic demonic sea, will Brother Xiao not go and take a look? A total of 3 people from the Azura race came. Aside from Yu and Lan Xiaobai, there was a rather quiet man. At this moment, the one who spoke was Yi Feng. This person rarely spoke. Now that he spoke, he seemed to have figured out why Xiao Chen hesitated. Yu thought to herself, not only is there a deep friendship, he even gave an emperor-grade secret treasure as a congratulatory gift. Without a certain relationship, he definitely would not have given it. Xiao Chen withdrew his gaze and avoided answering. He directly said, "Let's go. There is still a long way to go." The other party was definitely in bitter cultivation. He had so many emperor-grade secret treasures and even a primordial emperor-grade secret treasure Neptune. If Xiao Chen did not raise his strength, he would end up benefiting them sooner or later. It was better not to disturb them. The sea surged with strong winds and waves. The Dragon's Gate's warship used its strong might to break through the waves. It was as stable as the ground, not shaking at all. Xiao Chen sat cross-legged in another cultivation room. He circulated the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation's 7th layer, continuously digesting the spiritual energy that had yet to completely merge with his body. 10 peak spirit veins contained a vast amount of spiritual energy. It would be sufficient for a regular cultivator to break through to the blue-robed Emperor realm. However, Xiao Chen barely managed to break through to Great Grandmaster level Martial Sage. With the help of the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation's 7th layer, he had refined most of the spiritual energy in less than 2 months. After the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation circulated a great cycle, Xiao Chen opened his eyes and spat out a mouthful of turbid qi. This qi was like an arrow, looking solid and unending. I am still some distance away from peak Great Grandmaster level Martial Sage. I have to break through to the 8th layer of the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation. Only then can I quickly reach peak Great Grandmaster level Martial Sage and pave the way for my advancement to the blue-robed Emperor realm, becoming an emperor and becoming a famous person in the world. With just a thought, I can stir up the winds and clouds, returning to the natural state. All the demeanor of a grandmaster will be contained in my heart. Only by reaching the blue-robed Emperor realm can I truly have the strength to protect myself on Heavenly Star Island. Xiao Chen stood up and thought quickly. He considered his current situation and how to resolve it. After thinking about it, all the clues turned into one word: blue-robed emperor. Coincidentally, there is a supreme elder of the Haotian sect on the warship. How about I go and ask him for advice? I wonder if I will disturb him? Xiao Chen said with some hesitation. This supreme elder's name was Qin Yu. He was an old antique of the Haotian sect. He had lived for more than 1,000 years and had stayed on the blue-robed emperor for several hundred years. He was a blue-robed emperor with an extremely deep cultivation, even stronger than the Haotian vice sect master. Of course, his potential was not as great as the latter's. I might as well ask him. Life bestowal spell. Shao Chun moved his 10 fingers and materialized a clone out of thin air outside Elder Qin's recuperation room. Materializing a clone out of thin air was not difficult for Shao Chun. However, such a clone did not have much combat prowess. It would not even be able to defeat an insignificant cultivator. Of course, if Shao Chun was willing to spend some time and use some essence blood to nourish it with spiritual energy, it would be able to bring out some combat prowess. If he used it to knock on the door and ask some questions, it would not be so troublesome. Dong, dong, dong. The clone gently knocked on the door 3 times and said, "Elder Qin, this junior Shao Chun would like to seek guidance from senior. Do you have time?" "Ha. This old man has been waiting for you for a long time already. If you still had not come, I would have lowered my pride and gone to look for you." Carefree laughter came from the room. Shao Chun rejoiced in his heart and he leaped up. His feet did not touch the ground as he floated to the recuperation room. Then he scattered the clone and pushed the door open. The recuperation room was very large, divided into 2. The front was a fully equipped tea room, and the back was a cultivation room. Elder Qin had already brewed tea at the tea table. When he saw Shao Chun arrive, he stood up to welcome him. After Shao Chun took a seat, he explained his purpose in coming in detail. After Elder Qin finished sipping his tea, he said, "Aside from helping you hold down Heavenly Star Island, the sect master called me here for another purpose. That is to give you pointers on how to break through the blue-robed emperor." "Many thanks, senior. In that case, Shao Chun will not stand on ceremony. Might I ask Elder Qin, what is a blue-robed emperor? What is the difference between a blue-robed emperor and a great grandmaster-level martial sage? What is the difference between a blue-robed emperor and Emperor Wu?" Elder Qin put down his teacup and thought for a while, considering how to let Shao Chun understand what a blue-robed emperor was. After a while, Elder Qin said, "You can treat the blue-robed emperor as a bridge that connects a great grandmaster-level martial sage to Emperor Wu. If you can complete this bridge, you will be able to successfully reach the realm of Emperor Wu. If you cannot complete it, you will be stuck at the blue-robed emperor for life." Cultivating under the blue-robed emperor is the process of building a bridge. Bridges are divided into gold, jade, silver, and stone. The better the material, the higher the grade of the bridge. Chapter 10:14. This is why some people are as strong as Emperor Wu even though they have reached the same level. This is the reason. Bridge? When Shao Chun heard such a wondrous explanation, he could not help but feel astonished. The old man's words had 3 meanings. Using the bridge as an example, he explained all his problems clearly. There was a huge chasm between a great grandmaster-level martial sage and Emperor Wu. If one could sense the existence of the chasm and reach a dead end, the one qualified to build the bridge would be the blue-robed emperor. Otherwise, one would be a great grandmaster-level martial sage, not the blue-robed emperor. After building the bridge and crossing the chasm, one would be able to remove the word Zhuan and be called Emperor Wu. Shao Chun used this to evaluate himself and discovered that he could not sense the existence of the chasm at all. He was not qualified to build the bridge at all. With your current cultivation, you should be able to barely see the chasm, right? Elder Qin asked with a smile. Shao Chun shook his head and said, "I can't see it. I can't feel it at all." When Elder Qin heard this, his expression could not help but change slightly. He sized up Shao Chun and said, "How can that be? Although you are a newly advanced great grandmaster-level martial sage, your heavenly sage laws are vast and dense. Furthermore, they have already reached the limits of grandmaster-level martial sages. With more than 5,000 rings, how can you not feel it at all?" Indeed, Shao Chun could not feel it at all. He did not even know how far he was from the chasm. After thinking for a while, Elder Qin smiled and said, "It should have something to do with your cultivation technique. This is a good thing. The more great grandmaster-level martial sages accumulate, the more extraordinary the bridge they build will be. Putting this aside for now, Xiaochen continued asking, what are the materials for building the bridge? How do you differentiate between good and bad? Elder Qin said, cultivation is the foundation. The heavenly sage laws are definitely the main material. The stronger the heavenly sage laws are, the denser they are. They might even be able to transform into dragons or phoenixes. This is equivalent to using an epic grade material to build the bridge. Heavenly sage laws can take form? This was the first time Xiaochen had heard of such a thing. None of the great grandmasters he had met had been able to do this. Of course they can. However, from ancient times until now, those who are able to shapeshift are as rare as phoenix feathers and qilin horns. Only those who are extremely talented can shapeshift. When he spoke up to hear, Elder Qin came to a sudden understanding and said, I know why you haven't sensed the existence of the chasm in the heavens and the earth even though your cultivation is so high. Transformation. The answer is transformation. Now is the age of geniuses. All of you outstanding talents will definitely be able to transform. Once you succeed, you will be able to sense the chasm between heaven and earth. Transformation? Elder Qin, do you know how to transform? Hearing Elder Qin's explanation, Xiaochen was overjoyed and asked expectantly. Elder Qin smiled and said, I don't know how to transform. However, according to the information I have, transformation is something that happens naturally and without a teacher. If you want to avoid taking a detour, see if you can search for it in the remnant of an ancient prime. During the ancient era, countless experts were able to make their heavenly sage laws take form. Achieving naturally and without a teacher was too vague. It was better to find the secret manuals of the predecessors and point out the direction. After Xiaochen settled down on Heavenly Star Island, he would send people to ask around about this, to see if he could find the secret manuals for transformation in places like auctions and markets. Boom! Just as the two were chatting happily, the warship suddenly trembled intensely. Xiaochen and Elder Qin remained as unmoving as a mountain. However, the decorations in the room shattered. Given the weight of the Dragon's Gate's warship and its formations, regular winds and waves would not be able to shake it. Xiaochen's expression did not change. He stood up and said, I'll go and see what's going on. If there are any problems that I cannot resolve, I hope that Elder Qin will be able to help. Go. This old man will do his best. Elder Qin showed a grave expression and did not delay. Little brother Xiaochen, something happened. We are surrounded by the Xianshui sect's people. Right after Xiaochen left the recuperation room, Kim Taeho rushed over anxiously with a flustered expression. The Xianshui sect was at the periphery of the heavenly starry ocean. That meant that the Dragon's Gate's warship had already left the chaotic demonic sea. If they headed west, they would reach Heavenly Star Island in about a month. Xiaochen had once killed a disciple of the Xianshui sect's sect master in front of him. If he passed by here, he would definitely be intercepted by the other party. However, Xiaochen did not panic at all. Although the Xianshui sect was not one of the 9 ranks of the great families, it was the weakest of the 9 ranks of the great families. It could not be compared to a large sect like the Haotian sect. This place was not too far from the Kunlun continent. The Thunder King's name still had some deterrence. Xiaochen did not think that the other party would send out an expert at the level of the blue-robed emperor. As long as the other party did not send out an expert at the level of the blue-robed emperor, Xiaochen would have a way to deal with them. Even if the other party was bold enough to send out an expert, Xiaochen would not fear them. After all, there was still Elder Qin on the warship. Given the other party's strength, they could at most send out a blue-robed emperor. Seeing Xiaochen's calm expression, Kim Taeho calmed down as well. Quickly arriving on the deck, Xiaochen looked around. A king-grade warship led 10 sage-grade warships to surround the Dragon's Gate's warship. Waves surged endlessly on the surface of the sea. There were still some energy ripples in the air that had not dissipated yet. When Xiaochen saw the situation, he felt even more assured. The other party must have used the ancient demonic energy cannons to attack the Dragon's Gate's warship. However, it did not achieve the effect that they wanted. Aside from some intense shaking, The Dragon's Gate's warship did not suffer any damage. Call the Blue Dragon King, Xiaochen, out and hand over all the congratulatory gifts he received at the King Conferral ceremony. My Xianshui sect will not make things difficult for you. An ancient mirror hovered above Yao Chen's head as he shouted from the other party's King-grade warship. Jin Lin and the others had already gathered on the deck long ago, waiting in formation. Lan Xiaobai stood at the very front and smiled. You really boast shamelessly. The warship under my feet is the Dragon's Gate's warship. Barring an Emperor-grade warship, no King-grade warship can suppress it. If we want to leave, can you stop us? Just an insignificant Xianshui sect dares to come and snatch the Blue Dragon King that the Thunder King of the Bushan Palace favors? Yao Chen, where do you get the courage from? Xiao Chen stopped. He had not expected Lan Xiaobai to be so bold. He decided to wait and see first. You have a sharp tongue. Smash this warship. Let's see how he is going to get to Heavenly Star Island. When Yao Chen saw Lan Xiaobai's unyielding attitude, he could not help but fly into a rage out of humiliation. He ordered the various warships to attack the Dragon's Gate's warship again. Amid the loud explosions, beams of blue energy shot out from the surrounding ships with great momentum, stirring up the waves and causing the water to shoot up into the sky. The resplendent light was incredibly piercing. If it struck a cultivator, even a Grandmaster-level martial sage would be severely injured. Bang! However, an azure-colored protective barrier appeared on the Dragon's Gate's warship. Dragon motifs spread out, blocking the ferocious ancient demonic energy cannons. Ripples spread out, but the warship remained undamaged. Yao Chen did not believe it. He continued to give orders to attack the Dragon's Gate's warship. The sound of surging water rang out endlessly, and the light of the protective barrier dimmed. Xiao Chen took out 100 astral cores and handed them to Kim Taeho, telling him to control the warship and replace them with astral cores. The other party's ancient demonic energy cannons could not break the protective barrier of the Dragon's Gate's warship. As long as there were sufficient astral cores, it would not sink. However, Xiao Chen did not lack astral cores. Senior brother Yao Chen, our warship's astral cores are almost depleted. This Dragon's Gate's warship is the king of king-grade warships, the king of kings. There is no way for us to break it, a person at the side said to Yao Chen with an unsightly expression. Yao Chen waved his hand to stop. Then, he said angrily, I'll personally break this protective barrier. Xiao Chen held the profound water mirror above his head and soared into the air. Then he summoned out the profound river image and quickly flew towards the Dragon's Gate's warship. Lan Xiaobai smiled coldly and said, You overestimate yourself. Xiao Chen pushed off the ground and flew out as well, charging over with a sword in his hand. This was the first time Xiao Chen saw Lan Xiaobai make a move. Lan Xiaobai's movement technique was extremely strange. It was like he was teleporting. Lan Xiaobai flickered in the air, appearing and disappearing unpredictably, executing some kind of instant-kill sword technique. Although Yao Chen summoned out the Emperor-grade secret treasure image in the air, he was still no match for Lan Xiaobai. The moment the profound river image appeared, Lan Xiaobai chopped it into several pieces. This caused this powerful Emperor-grade secret treasure image to lose its use. Those few sword strikes were so fast that they left no shadows. When Xiao Chen saw this, his eyes lit up. This seemed to be some kind of sword technique that was compatible with the Space Dao. Xiao Chen's figure moved with the sword, moving at the edge of space. He was truly so fast that he did not leave any traces at all. After the profound river mirror lost its effect, Yao Chen was no match for Lan Xiaobai. In less than 10 moves, Lan Xiaobai sent him flying with one sword strike. A horrifying wound appeared on Xiao Chen's chest, nearly chopping him in half. Lan Xiaobai is only one step away from reaching great Grandmaster-level martial sage. Furthermore, he has the talent of the Azura race, allowing him to fight above his cultivation and kill an ordinary older generation great Grandmaster-level martial sage. As Xiao Chen watched the two fight, he quickly came to a conclusion. He had a rough idea of Lan Xiaobai's strength. Yao Chen, with just this bit of strength, you dare to block the Azure Dragon King's ship? You must be tired of living. You must be tired of living, Lan Xiaobai said rudely as he stood upright with his sword in hand. Several of the great grandmaster-level martial sages of the Shenshui sect on the warship were very timid, not daring to step forward to help. "First martial uncle, are you still not going to make a move?" Yao Chen shouted when he landed on the warship's bow. "Pumph. Useless thing. You cannot even last 10 moves. If the Shenshui sect lands in your hands, it will really be finished." A cold snort came from the king-grade warship. Chapter 10:15. The blue-robed emperor relied on his might to force back Lan Xiaobai's extremely crafty sword strike. The blue-robed emperor thrust out his palm, and his forehead lit up with light. Then, a bright light erupted behind him, and the power of heavenly laws surged out, forcing Lan Xiaobai, who was preparing to flee to the edge of the void, to reveal himself. When this energy swept past Lan Xiaobai, he vomited a large mouthful of blood. The Azura race's innate spatial ability is indeed difficult to deal with. If I had allowed you to grow for a while longer, I would not have been able to do anything to you. However, now die. The blue-robed emperor used his heavenly laws to lock down the surrounding space. Lan Xiaobai could not dodge. It looked like he would receive the blue-robed emperor's palm strike head-on. The consequences would be dire. Just as the blue-robed emperor's palm wind was about to touch Lan Xiaobai, an incomparably colossal shadow appeared. A strong wind blew. It was the legendary holy beast, the Kunpeng, spreading its wings to cover the sky. Xiao Chen turned into a Kunpeng, spreading his arms and wings as he charged over. Then he punched, taking the initiative to clash. The intent materialized was one word: hate. Hate the sky for being too low. Hate the sky for being too low. Hate the sky for being too low, unable to allow me to soar into the sky. Xiao Chen executed the Kunpeng fist and spread his wings. Despite moving later, he arrived first. Using the power of hating the sky, he used Lan Xiaobai to clash with the blue-robed emperor's strike. How strong was the blue-robed emperor's strike? The wind blew, the clouds moved, and the world moved. The torrential waters surged violently, and a powerful force surged out. The surrounding warships were all lifted up by the waves, flying high into the sky and tumbling non-stop. Even the Dragon's Gate's warship was sent flying, although it did not tumble. When Xiao Chen punched, he retreated 100 steps. Then he stood on the water, dissipating some of the force with each step. The waves surged, rising and falling. The fluctuating force could easily drown a city. The power of the heavenly laws fused with heaven and earth, and with a wave of his hand he stirred the winds and clouds. The person in front of him should be the blue-robed emperor that Elder Qin had mentioned, who had already begun to build the bridge. However, it was clear that it had yet to reach the small success realm. It had only just built the pier, and the bridge was not even halfway across the chasm between heaven and earth. Otherwise, he would not have only suffered such a minor injury if he had used the Kunpeng fist. But even so, it was still not something that Xiao Chen could contend with. After all, his opponent had not used much of his strength just now. Lan Xiaobai escaped death. He looked at Xiao Chen gratefully and stood side by side with Xiao Chen. He secretly transmitted his voice to Xiao Chen. "Xiao Chen, this man is the real blue-robed emperor. I'm afraid we have to ask Elder Qin for help. There is no rush. Let's investigate this person first. I suspect that they did not just send a blue-robed emperor." Lan Xiaobai saw that Xiao Chen had only retreated 100 steps and dissipated the force of his attack. Xiao Chen was still very lively, and it was impossible to tell how severely injured he was. "Blue Dragon King Xiao Chen," the blue-robed emperor exclaimed, quickly guessing Xiao Chen's identity. Xiao Chen looked straight at the other party. However, he extended his spiritual sense into the surroundings, capturing every detail of the other party's warship. Suddenly, his heart skipped a beat. On the King-grade warship, he saw the injured Yao Chen whispering to the 4 great Grandmaster-level martial sages. Xiao Chen's expression did not change as he said, "Since you know my identity, you still dare to block my way. Does the Shenshui sect not care about the Bushan Palace?" The blue-robed emperor smiled and said, "Don't worry. I know what I'm doing. As long as I don't really kill you, This place is very far away. What can the Bushin Palace do to our Xianshui sect? We only want a Holy Spirit vein for your congratulatory gift. Furthermore, we will compensate you with 10 million black astral coins. When Lan Xiaobai heard this, he mocked. You want to buy a Holy Spirit vein with just 10 million black astral coins? Are the people of the Xianshui sect crazy? Holy Spirit veins were the foundation of the 9 ranks of the great families. Without a Holy Spirit vein, the name of the 9 ranks of the great families could not be spoken of. If they were auctioned in the starry heavens, the starting price would be 20 million black astral coins. Up until now, the Xianshui sect only had 1 Holy Spirit vein left. Furthermore, it was very old. If the Xianshui sect did not find a new Holy Spirit vein soon, it would fall to a rank 8 sect. When the sect master passed away and the blue-robed emperor no longer existed, the Xianshui sect would fall by another grade, becoming a rank 7 sect. Hence, the blue-robed emperor was very interested in the Holy Spirit vein on Shaoqin. Even at the risk of offending the Bushin Palace, they wanted to snatch it. As for 10 million black astral coins, that was just a joke, equivalent to charity. The blue-robed quasi-emperor did not get angry. Wind and clouds fluttered behind him, radiating a powerful aura. He looked at Shaoqin and said, Azure Dragon King, what do you think? I believe you are a smart person and know how to choose. Shaoqin retorted rudely, Are you joking? The Holy Spirit vein is a congratulatory gift from the Kunlun continent's prime, Emperor Wu, the Fox King. You are just an insignificant blue-robed emperor, and you actually dare to make a move to snatch the treasure of a prime? I think you must be tired of living. In that case, you are not willing. The blue-robed emperor's face sank, and killing intent brewed in his body. Then, a strong aura pressed down on Shaoqin and Shaoqin. Do your best. If even an insignificant blue-robed emperor like you can bully me, there is no need for me to go to Heavenly Star Island. Shaoqin took out the blue dragon medallion and instantly forced back the blue-robed emperor's aura. Even the wind and clouds behind him moved back quickly. With one glance, it looked like half the sky was fleeing miserably from this medallion. Lan Xiaobai immediately felt the pressure on him lessen significantly. He could not help sending a voice projection, Shaoqin, unexpectedly, you have such a treasure. If you can suppress his aura, then with Yi Feng and you, there is no need to fear him with the 4 of us working together. There's no need. Let the 2 of them stay on the Dragon's Gate's warship. This fellow is delaying for time. Let's see what he is up to. The moment the blue dragon medallion containing the Qing Emperor's saber light appeared, it was like the Qing Emperor had descended, its boundless might spreading out. The Qing Emperor was a distant legend, a settled epic poem, a legend of songs. Even after 10,000 years, he remained immortal. He was the strongest person of the post-ancient era, unrivaled in all directions. Time would not erase his legend. It would only continue to spread, becoming an epic legend. Under the pressure of the blue dragon medallion, the blue-robed emperor actually took 3 steps back before he could stabilize himself. The winds and clouds behind him turned chaotic. No matter how hard he tried, they would scatter like smoke at any moment. Blue dragon medallion. The blue-robed emperor was startled. He had not expected Shaoqin to have such a treasure. His expression sank. The blue-robed emperor thought to himself, I have to deal with Shaoqin quickly. Otherwise, if my aura continues to weaken, I will not be able to do anything to this brat. No matter how many treasures you have, they are still insufficient before absolute strength. Mountain collapsing imprint. The blue-robed emperor moved his hands, and a clump of light surged between his 10 fingers, forming a golden mountain collapsing imprint. At a glance, it looked like he was dragging a mountain. The blue-robed emperor shouted, and the mountain collapsing imprint pressed towards Shaoqin. Boom! Before the mountain collapsing imprint arrived, the seawater under Shaoqin and Lan Xiaobai suddenly sank, forming a huge, semicircular pit on the vast sea. What a strong force! Furthermore, this was under the situation where Shaoqin's aura was suppressed. If not for the blue dragon medallion's suppression, the seawater would have turned upside down. Shaoqin was astonished. The blue-robed emperor is indeed the blue-robed emperor. Even though the blue-robed emperor has not reached small perfection yet, he still has an absolute advantage in terms of strength. I will hold him back. You find an opportunity to make a move. Although Xiao Chen was astonished, he did not feel any fear. Instead, he felt excited. A long time ago, the blue-robed emperor could crush Xiao Chen to death with one finger. To Xiao Chen, the blue-robed emperor was an unreachable existence. Now, he faced the blue-robed emperor head-on. Although Xiao Chen sighed at the other party's strength, he no longer felt like he could not defeat him. With a flip of his hand, the lunar shadow saber appeared in Xiao Chen's left hand. Then, he grasped the saber hilt with his right hand. With the help of the blue dragon medallion, Xiao Chen's aura soared, soaring into the sky. Lan Xiaobai's figure flashed, disappearing into the void. He left no trace behind, moving at the edge of the void. The mountain collapsing imprint arrived in the blink of an eye, looking like a mountain. It gave off a bright light, containing the power of the heavenly laws as it pressed down on Xiao Chen. Bang! In the time it took for a spark to fly, a saber light flashed. The bright moon came out with the saber, and night suddenly descended. The saber light shattered, and Xiao Chen was knocked back again. However, the bright moon remained, hanging alone in the sky, merging with the night, appearing perfect and flawless. The blue-robed quasi-emperor showed a sullen expression. He had not held back in this mountain-collapsing imprint. However, given the night sky and the bright moon, even if the other party was still holding back, he would still be able to fight. Blue Dragon Medallion. The blue-robed emperor narrowed his eyes and noticed the azure medallion floating in the air. If not for this medallion, given his aura, how could Xiao Chen's mysterious phenomenon exist? Xiao Chen broke out of the surging seawater. His body moved like a roaming dragon. Saber hums rang out endlessly in the surroundings, forming countless saber winds as he sped along the surface. The blue-robed emperor stepped forward and threw a palm wind. A chain of mountains formed in the air, forming an encirclement of mountains. When the blue-robed emperor threw a palm strike, the mountains roared and knocked back Xiao Chen's saber strike again. Xiao Chen somersaulted twice in the air. Then, he wiped off the blood at the corner of his lips and revealed a smile. Xiao Chen now had a clear understanding of his physical body. After refining the half-drop of dragon marrow, his peak rank 4 sage body had already surpassed some of the physical bodies of the blue-robed emperor. This gave Xiao Chen the capital to face the blue-robed emperor. Xiao Chen attacked over and over again, but he could not truly deal a blow to Xiao Chen. The Xianshui sect disciples and great grandmaster-level martial sages all felt somewhat horrified when they saw this. How strong exactly was Xiao Chen? Unexpectedly, the blue-robed emperor could not take him down quickly. Mountain collapsing imprint. Mountain flipping imprint. Mountain coiling imprint. After failing to take down Xiao Chen after a few attacks, the blue-robed emperor's expression turned even more sullen. Then he moved his hands and sent out 3 large imprints in a row. Each imprint caused the sea to churn, containing boundless horrifying energy. The huge pits in the sea formed 3 incomparably huge whirlpools that soared into the sky. After 3 consecutive attacks, Xiao Chen did not waste time or use any techniques to break them. The difference in strength was too great. Xiao Chen only sent out a screen of sabers and defended with all his might. Then he used his physical body to endure the attacks. Xiao Chen did not use his best moves, flawless 4 seasons, flawless bright moon, and subduing dragon profound slash. He had no intention of using his killing move, instant of glory, either. These killing moves could be used against martial artists of the same level, or against martial artists whose strength was 1 or 2 times lower, and could achieve a one-hit kill effect. However, against a prepared blue-robed emperor, even if Xiao Chen managed to injure the other party, it would be a minor injury, meaningless. Chapter 10:16. Hence, either Xiao Chen did not use it, or when he used it, he had to make the other party bleed and receive a true blow. The blue-robed emperor could not help feeling frustrated when he saw Xiao Chen wiping the blood from the corner of his lips. It was clear that Xiao Chen was severely injured, but he managed to break out of the water again with no decrease in his fighting spirit. Damn it! If I did not have the blue dragon medallion and this brat's physical body was slightly weaker, I would have been able to severely injure him in one move. Just as the blue-robed emperor was feeling frustrated, a sword light suddenly lit up on his right. The sword light was resplendent and dazzling, lighting up space. With a thought, the blue-robed emperor sensed the danger of this sword. So, he quickly dodged without even looking. However, the blue-robed emperor did not know that there was a spot of cold light behind him. It was silent, without any killing chi or light. The instant the blue-robed emperor dodged, it tore through his protective heavenly sage laws and stabbed into his back. Blood flowed out, and the force in the sword burst out. However, the sword could not stab in any further after just 1 centimeter. This startled Lan Xiaobai. He quickly let go and retreated, wanting to flee to the edge of space. "How dare you injure me? You are seeking death." The blue-robed emperor was enraged. He had not expected a junior to injure him. He turned around and sent out a palm strike in anger. Before Lan Xiaobai could flee, the palm strike landed on him. Pusi. Lan Xiaobai vomited a large mouthful of blood. This palm strike shattered half of his bones, severely injuring him. On the warship Yuchensi, Yu, and Yi Feng quickly descended and caught Lan Xiaobai. Then, they infused quintessence into him to stabilize his injuries. Instant of glory. The instant the blue-robed emperor turned around and sent Lan Xiaobai flying, Xiaochen, who had been passively defending, finally moved. His green robe and long hair fluttered in the wind as he spun in circles. The bright moon was dull, the peach blossoms stretched for hundreds of miles, the scorching summer sun, the falling leaves, the pure white snow, and the flickering shadow of a dragon. As the saber spun, a mysterious phenomenon appeared with each turn. Thousands of wondrous scenes and thousands of sceneries appeared endlessly in the world, layering over each other. Finally, when Xiaochen swung his saber, he swung his saber. 10,000 kinds of lights gathered in the saber, forming the brightest saber light known as glory. It only blossomed in that instant, but it gathered for an eternity. The blue-robed emperor, who was about to step forward and slap Lan Xiaobai to death, felt his heart sink as he sensed an extremely dangerous aura. Just as he was about to fly away, he suddenly discovered that the space around him seemed to have been locked down. Thousands of different sceneries shone upon him, locking down the space around him. Even with the strength of the blue-robed emperor, he needed a second to break free. But this 1 second, this moment of glory, was enough to heavily injure him, who was caught off guard. Bang! The saber light chopped down on the blue-robed emperor's body. Thousands of lights exploded, materializing a vast and glorious scene. There was a bright moon exploding, spring thunder roaring, a blazing sun falling to the ground, and many other mysterious phenomena. From the very beginning, the blue-robed emperor, who had been suppressing Xiaochen, got knocked back 1 kilometer by this saber strike before Yao Chen and the others' incredulous expressions. When the blue-robed emperor fell into the water, a towering pillar of water shot up, looking majestic and spectacular. How can this be? His saber strike actually sent the blue-robed emperor flying. Yao Chen exclaimed in shock, gaping wide. The great grandmaster-level martial sages behind Xiaochen, who were busy with other matters, were also stunned by this scene, forgetting what they were doing. When Xiaochen swung his saber, instant of glory knocked back the blue-robed emperor. Damn it! I must kill you today. No matter who comes to the Bushin Palace, they will not be able to save you. Blue Dragon King, die. After being knocked back, the blue-robed emperor entered a berserk state. He unleashed his full strength, no longer holding anything back. He even used a secret technique to temporarily raise his strength. The wind and clouds that had been suppressed by the blue dragon token and could not gathered behind the blue-robed emperor. You are just a blue-robed emperor, who is not even at small perfection, yet you dare to say such arrogant words? Get down. A cold snort resounded in the sky. It was Elder Qin, who had been quietly observing the situation, finally making a move. His figure flickered, and he blocked the leaping blue-robed emperor. Great perfection, blue-robed emperor! Horror flashed on the blue-robed old man's face. Before he could turn around, Elder Qin knocked him back with one move. His injuries worsened, and he could not help vomiting large mouthfuls of blood. Elder Qin turned around and stretched out his hand towards the water. A formless energy turned into a palm and reached into the bottom of the sea. After a while, he pulled. Bang! Seawater splashed everywhere. Elder Qin pulled out a ferocious sea beast with the upper body of an ox and the lower body of an octopus with many tentacles. The beast's tentacles slapped the water continuously. Every time it did so, it carried a lot of force. Bang! Bang! The sea shook and waves rose. When Xiaochen saw this, he felt some lingering fear. This was probably another trump card that the Xianshui sect had prepared. Based on the aura of this spirit beast, it was comparable to the blue-robed emperors. Blood leaked out of the mouths of the 4 great Grandmaster-level martial sages behind Yaochen. They said in horror, "The sect protecting spirit beast is out of control." "Let's go," Yaochen said helplessly. Then he controlled the king-grade warship and left quickly. The 10-odd Xianshui sect warships, which had been charging over ferociously, fled in all directions. The blue-robed emperor, who had fallen into the water, did not appear again. No one knew where he had gone. Elder Qin was still fighting with that sea beast in the air. Bloody wounds appeared all over Elder Qin's body. That sea beast could not retaliate at all. When everything calmed down, there was only a huge corpse floating on the surface of the sea. Everyone on the Dragon's Gate's warship heaved a sigh of relief. Kim Taeho went down happily. Then he and Lord Jiao started to dissect the sea beast's corpse. This was a bona fide rank 10 spirit beast. The materials on its body were very valuable. With a thought, Xiaochen asked for all the spirit beast blood that Kim Taeho had collected. Then, he returned to the warship to check on Lan Xiaobai's injuries. "Ha! I won't die. You don't cry." Half of Lan Xiaobai's body was already bandaged with medicinal liquid. However, the smile on his face did not diminish. Xiaochen took a look. Lan Xiaobai's injuries were indeed severe. However, they were not life-threatening. After recuperating for a while, he would recover. "Hey, are you all right?" Yu asked quickly when she saw Xiaochen arrive. The others also asked out of concern. However, when they saw Xiaochen endure several attacks from the blue-robed emperor, Xiaochen's expression froze. Xiaochen smiled, indicating that he was fine. Everyone was astonished. Before Xiaochen could explain too much, Xiaochen noticed that Elder Qin's complexion did not look good. He walked to the side and asked, "Elder Qin, are you injured?" When Elder Qin heard that, he smiled and said, "How could a small perfection blue-robed emperor injure me? It is your problem that has not ended. Look over there." Elder Qin's eyesight was better than Xiaochen's. 10 kilometers in front of him, Xiaochen could only see a vast mist. He could not make out anything. Xiaochen extended his spiritual sense in a straight line until he was 50 kilometers away. Finally, Xiaochen saw a figure walking unhurriedly in the direction of the Dragon's Gate's warship. That is the Xianshui sect's sect master. Xiaochen immediately recognized this person. It was the Xianshui sect's sect master, whom he had met once before. For the sake of this holy spirit vein, the sect master actually disregarded his status and personally came. With a flip of Xiaochen's hand, the blue dragon medallion appeared once more. Xiaochen's expression turned cold. If the other party really disregarded his status and came to suppress him, Xiaochen could only make the saber light in the blue dragon medallion reappear in the world, preventing the other party from returning. "Hey!" He stopped and started running back. Elder Qin said in surprise as his expression changed. As the distance was too far, Xiaochen's spiritual sense was rather weak. He could only make out some blurry images. The Xianshui sect's sect master fled in panic. It seemed like some horrifying existence was attacking him. "Xiaochen, come with me to take a look." This was what Xiaochen intended to do. He pushed off the ground and followed Elder Qin into the clouds. Elder Qin, who was leading the way, said softly, "The battle between Emperor Wu will affect too many people. We should just watch from afar and not get involved." Xiaochen deeply agreed. The Xianshui sect's sect master, who had just become a blue-robed emperor, already suppressed Xiao Qin to the point of suffocation in terms of strength. Thousands of martial techniques and tens of thousands of saber techniques were nothing in front of such a powerful force. If one's strength had not reached a certain level, it would be no different from bullshit if one wanted to use skill to overcome strength. The insignificant blue-robed emperor was already like that. It was easy to imagine how horrifying the battle between Emperor Wu would be. However, the situation before them was very different from what the two expected. The Xinshui sect master kept running, moving very fast. There were several times when it tried to tear through space, but it was forced back by a powerful force. There seemed to be an extremely horrifying existence under the sea, chasing the Xinshui sect master all the way to Profound Water Island, where the Xinshui sect was located, and did not stop. Xiao Qin watched from a distance. The moment the Xinshui sect master entered the Xinshui sect, he immediately activated the formation protecting the island. The surrounding islands lit up with spiritual light. Layers of formations gave off a bright light, forming a complicated formation. They formed a complicated formation, and the illusory figures of 12 top-notch spirit beasts were guarding the formation's nodes. Space was folded layer by layer. There was a formation within a formation. A folded space was a small world. It could be said to be boundlessly vast and boundless. This formation had already completely infused the laws of space into it. This was a formation that the Xinshui sect would activate only at a moment of life and death. Once this formation was activated, countless astral cores would be used. One inferior-grade astral core was worth 1,000 black astral coins. That was to say, the Xinshui sect had lost more than 1,000,000 black astral coins. Furthermore, this number continued to increase. This is the 72 Spirit Universe formation. It comes from the Zodiac Hall and is widely known in the heavenly starry ocean. Once it is used, space becomes countless, becoming a small world. It can even block sovereign martial emperors. Elder Qin was very knowledgeable. He continued to explain to Xiao Qin, however, the Xinshui sect's formation only has 12 spirit beasts. It would not be a problem to block the peak minor heavenly Emperor Wu. However, it would pale in comparison to a greater heavenly emperor, not to mention a sovereign martial emperor. Xiao Qin was not someone who had never seen a formation before. The formation outside the Blue Dragon Palace not only locked down space but even controlled time. It was incredible and much stronger than this. Boom. As the two watched from a distance, they conversed in soft voices. Suddenly, a palace appeared on Profound Water Island. This palace was shaped like a fish. As it soared into the air, it turned into a dragon when the wind blew. A prime's emperors might spread out in all directions. The palace was azure in color and gave off the horrifying might of a supreme prime. As this palace descended from the sky, the layers of space crumbled and shattered like rotten wood. Chapter 1017. The images of the 12 peak spirit beasts already looked solid, each guarding a corner. However, it was of no use. Anguished wails rang out everywhere. When the 12 spirit beast phantoms were all dead, the blue palace suddenly sat down. In an instant, the huge mystic water island was destroyed, the city collapsed, and countless towering buildings collapsed one by one. The primordial emperor treasure, Neptune Palace. Xiao Qin showed a slightly startled expression. He now understood who attacked. He had clearly seen that the Neptune Palace had not completely descended. Instead, it hovered above Profound Water Island. If this was confirmed, the entire Mystic Water Island would probably sink into the ocean. The ancient mutated beast, the 1,000-feathered snake, floated to the surface. Yao Yen stood on it, looking at Xiao Qin from afar and smiling faintly. Then he withdrew the Neptune Palace and sank back into the sea. When everything calmed down, the Xinshui sect master looked at the rubble of Profound Water Island. The Xinshui sect master paled, his eyes filled with horror. Furthermore, the other party had held back. If the other party had not, the consequences would have been dire. Such a startling commotion attracted the cultivators and factions within 500 kilometers. When they saw this scene, they were all shocked. The merfolk race's empress made a move. How tragic! The entire profound water island has turned into rubble. A primordial emperor treasure is really unblockable. I heard that the 8 merfolk Emperor Wu sacrificed themselves to suppress and assimilate the item spirit of the Neptune Palace. Only then did this empress gain complete control over the primordial emperor treasure. Together with other emperor-grade secret treasures, she can fight against a sovereign martial emperor. This Xianshui sect master is targeting the Blue Dragon King, trying to snatch away the other party's holy spirit vein. Empress Yao Yen probably made a move because of this. I believe that this is to intimidate others. The Blue Dragon King has valuable treasures on him. Many people are eyeing him. If others want to make a move, they will have to consider the consequences of the Xianshui sect. However, the effects might not be good. The chaotic demonic sea is still a deterrent. However, once they enter the heavenly starry ocean, it will be hard to say. The strong might of the primordial emperor treasure nearly caused the Xianshui sect to suffer a calamity. For a while, everyone discussed this matter without end. In the sky, Xiao Chen was greatly moved by this. Carrying a precious treasure on him was indeed a little too big of a target. Yao Yen might be able to make a move once, but there was still a long way to go. If a few stronger blue-robed emperors came, the Dragon's Gate's warship would be in grave danger. Even if this group of people had extraordinary origins and were frightening, there had never been a lack of people who would risk their lives for great treasures. Not to mention, there were also Neptune's old subordinates who were preparing some unknown plan. This journey was much more dangerous than he had imagined. Xiao Chen, the Empress will fight for you once. I'm afraid the road ahead will be much smoother, Elder Qin said softly. Xiao Chen smiled but did not reply. After thinking for a while, he said, Elder, I have a decision. After hearing Xiao Chen's decision, Elder Qin's expression changed. After a while, he said, that is good as well. It is a pretty good choice. Seeing Elder Qin nod in agreement, Xiao Chen relaxed a little and heaved a sigh of relief. After the two returned, they did not mention anything about what they had seen. Xiao Chen stopped cultivating and started to do something that he had already thought of long ago. He took out the rank 10 spirit beast blood that he had obtained from Dabao earlier. Then he took out many extremely precious superior grade astral cores and crushed them, turning them into crystalline powder that entered the spirit blood like starlight. Without even blinking, Xiao Chen crushed the priceless superior grade astral cores one by one, turning them into powder and entering the spirit blood. Only after the spirit blood turned completely golden did Xiao Chen stop. Then he took out a brush and paper. The paper was made from beast skin that contained spiritual energy and was cooked using a special method. The dark blue brush was even more precious. Xiao Chen had bought both of them during the Haotian sect's shopping spree. That was right. Xiao Chen was preparing to write talismans for laying formations. Most of the reason he had purchased so many astral cores was to lay formations. A conferred land was like establishing a sect. How could it not be guarded by formations? There were many formations in the compendium of cultivation. However, Xiao Chen did not know many. He only knew an illusion formation and the 9th Heaven's Thunder formation, which he had once used in the Shao clan. As Xiao Chen did not have much time to learn, and the situation was rather urgent, he did not intend to use other formations. The 9th Heaven's Thunder formation was not weak. All Xiao Chen needed to do was increase the number of materials needed to lay the formation and change the talismans he was writing to the talisman that the Thunder Immortal Ancestor left behind. A brand new formation would definitely surpass Xiao Chen's expectations. 9 sets of thunder formations in a chain would be sufficient to block the blue-robed Emperor's invasion. As for blocking Emperor Wu, it would be too much of a stretch for Xiao Chen, a formation master who had only just started cultivating. After taking out a brush and paper, Xiao Chen burned his magic energy and started writing talismans. Although he had not written in a long time, the talismans he was writing were the purple lightning talismans in his sea of consciousness. Without much thought, Xiao Chen could complete them in one go. The tip of the brush gave off a bright light, and lightning flickered. The light on Xiao Chen's forehead could be clearly seen through Neptune's headscarf. For 7 consecutive days, Xiao Chen locked himself in his room and wrote a total of 3,000 talismans, enough to lay 81 sets of the ninth Heaven's Thunder formation. Initially, he had only planned to refine 9 sets, but on second thought, he felt that it was better to be safe. 81 formations were interconnected. Even a peak blue-robed emperor would have to think twice if he wanted to take the risk and enter. Ignoring the fatigue on his face, Xiao Chen took out a pen and paper and wrote down the key points of the 9 Heaven's Thunder formation. The talismans were all completed, and all of them contained magic power. Now, as long as someone grasped these talismans and the key to setting up the formation, they would be able to do so. By leaving the blood essence on the talisman and following the steps on it, one could easily form a large formation. Calling Lan Xiaobai and Kim Taeho in, Zhang Xian imparted to Lan Xiaobai the talisman used to set up the formation and the key to it. Given Lan Xiaobai's talent, he was able to comprehend most of it with just a single explanation. Lan Xiaobai and Kim Taeho showed suspicious expressions. They felt that Xiao Chen seemed to have something to say. After dealing with the Xianshui sect's people that day, Xiao Chen had not said a word, locking himself in his room. Clearly, something was wrong. Before the two could ask, Xiao Chen spoke of his decision. I intend to separate from you for now. On the trip to Heavenly Star Island, you will take my King Conferral Medallion and official documents. It will take at most 1 or 2 years, at least half a year. After I cultivate to the blue-robed emperor, I will reunite with you. The moment Xiao Chen said that, Lan Xiaobai and Kim Taeho revealed shocked expressions. Clearly, the impact of these words was too great. Lan Xiaobai was very clever. After thinking about it, he guessed Xiao Chen's thoughts. He nodded and said, "You are worried that you are too big of a target and will bring us danger?" Most of it is like that. However, there is also a small part that is because of me. The danger of this trip surpassed Xiao Chen's expectations. They had only just crossed the chaotic demonic sea when they met with the blue-robed emperor's ambush. Even the Xianshui sect's Emperor Wu made a move. Of course, the Xianshui sect's Emperor Wu was a special case in most situations. Most Emperor Wu would not disregard his status to make a move for a Holy Spirit vein. The Xianshui sect was the sect's Holy Spirit vein. It was about to run out, so they needed to find a replacement. Hence, they had no choice but to make this move. However, this was just the beginning. After entering the heavenly starry ocean, they did not know what kind of danger they would run into. Perhaps there might even be an ambush near Heavenly Star Island. As long as Xiao Chen left temporarily, the people eyeing the treasure would naturally not make a move on Lan Xiaobai and the others. Lan Xiaobai and the others had extraordinary backgrounds. They were of noble birth in the Azura race. Without sufficient benefits, even the blue-robed emperor would not be foolish enough to offend this group of people. Xiao Chen split into 2 groups. Kim Taeho and the others would go to Heavenly Star Island first, leaving them to develop Heavenly Star Island. As for Xiao Chen, he would hide his cultivation and identity. The other group would go in another direction to search for the Despair Throne. At the same time, he would focus on cultivating and reach the level of the blue-robed emperor before coming back to regroup. Since Xiao Chen had the treasure but could not protect it, he had to keep a low profile. This was the norm of the cultivation world. After the two heard what Xiao Chen said, they had no objections. This was indeed the best plan at the moment. Seeing that the two agreed, Xiao Chen called over Yu Chenxi and the others. Then he searched through the universe ring and found some good secret treasures that he had obtained from killing others. Then he gave them all to the 4. Then of the 38 peak spirit veins on him, he kept 10 and handed over the rest. He also gave the king medallion to Lan Xiaobai as well. Senior brother Xiao Chen, you can leave in peace. We will definitely help you develop Heavenly Star Island. Jin Lin, who worshipped Xiao Chen, consoled him. When you return, I will definitely not leave you with a mess to clean up, Lan Xiaobai said seriously. The others all gave Xiao Chen their blessings, not giving Xiao Chen any pressure. If they were in his shoes, they would know that Xiao Chen was not in a good mood right now. Before reaching his conferred land, Xiao Chen, who had just been conferred the Blue Dragon King, would definitely feel dissatisfied. With this group of people around, Heavenly Star Island would definitely be able to develop. There was no need to say anything pretentious. Xiao Chen performed a cupped fist salute and said, I'll take my leave first. When I return, I will definitely be the blue-robed emperor." In the night, Shao Chun moved very quickly, leaping into the vast sea and sinking into the water. Half a month later, the 7 heroes of the dragon gathered together. They had already learned that Shao Chun was not on the Dragon's Gate's warship and that he was nowhere to be found. They were all furious. The 7 of them worked together to set up a huge formation. Not only did they mobilize all the forces they could, but they also mobilized all the forces they could. They even used a lot of money to befriend many pirates. Even experts with the cultivation of the blue-robed emperor were invited out. The 7 of them planned to wipe out their previous humiliation by blocking Shao Chun at a place he had to pass on his way to Heavenly Star Island. They wanted to teach him an unforgettable lesson, to show him the consequences of offending the 7 heroes of the dragon. Who could have imagined that after spending so much time and effort, they would not be able to find Shao Chun in the end? It was like they had been holding back a lot of energy. When they saw that the enemy was approaching, they could vent it out. Who could have imagined that they would suddenly receive news that they had to hold back their anger? They had no choice but to do so. Damn it! This Shao Chun is really crafty. He does not even want his conferred land, the purple-robed youth said angrily. Chiyu, what should we do now? Shao Chun is not around. There is no value in making a move on the people on the Dragon's Gate's warship, another of the 7 heroes of the dragon asked Huan Chuyu. The others immediately looked at the black-robed Huan Chuyu as well. Chuyu, what should we do now? With Shao Chun not around, there is no value in making a move on the people on the Dragon's Gate's warship, another of the 7 heroes of the dragon asked Huan Chuyu. Chapter 10:18. Huan Chuyu said after some thought, "This Shao Chun is indeed not easy to deal with. Even though he was conferred king, he does not seem arrogant at all. Instead, he is very cautious. However, don't worry. He will definitely return to Heavenly Star Island. He is someone who wants to re-establish his sect and restore the Dragon's Gate. He absolutely will not give up on Heavenly Star Island. For now, we will send people to guard the vicinity of Heavenly Star Island. At the same time, we will bribe the surrounding factions, not giving Heavenly Star Island a chance to develop. When he returns, we will denounce him." The other 6 did not have any good ideas, so they could only listen to Huan Chuyu's arrangements. As for the large sum of money spent on handing over the loose cultivators, it would all be for naught. They were not the only ones disappointed. Several of the blue-robed emperors in the entire western seaside. Most of the congratulatory gifts that Shao Chun received during his conferment of king would not catch Emperor Wu's eye. However, to the blue-robed emperor, they were a piece of extremely tempting fat meat. However, Shao Chun had vanished without a trace. The fat meat that was about to fall into the blue-robed emperor's hands vanished just like that. Leng Xiaofan, who received the news immediately, felt extremely furious. He had not expected Shao Chun to give up on his conferred land and leave just like that. However, Leng Xiaofan hid all his emotions in his heart, not showing any change in his expression. He paced around slowly, thinking of countermeasures. However, the heavenly starry ocean was boundlessly vast. In terms of size, it was no smaller than the Kunlun continent. Aside from the 4 clear sea regions, there were many other sea regions of various sizes. Even beyond the heavenly starry ocean, there were even vaster sea regions. Since ancient times, no one had been able to completely figure out the secrets of the sea. Trying to find a person was like searching for a needle in a haystack. This phrase was no exaggeration. Behind Leng Xiaofan, a beautiful girl slept amid a cluster of flowers. Her skin was as white as snow, rosy. As she lay among the flowers seemed to pale in comparison. If Shao Chun were here, he would definitely recognize this girl. It was Princess Qin, who had been sleeping in Neptune's palace for 10,000 years. Find him. I have to find him. Leng Xiaofan's eyes shone brightly. His expression was firm, and he had a determination that no one could shake. Back to Kim Taho, Lan Xiaobai, and the others. After drifting along the ocean for a month, they finally arrived near Heavenly Star Island. The conditions were much worse than expected. The surrounding islands had already been divided up by other nearby forces. The spiritual chi on the island was thin. It was obvious that the spirit veins that once existed had all been taken away, leaving only a wasteland for them. Several malicious gazes came from the subsidiary islands, staring at this warship with the Dragon's Gate's insignia. However, the people on the ship did not care. Before they came, they were already prepared to accept the challenge, so they were not afraid of these people. Kim Tae-ho stood at the bow of the warship and looked around. Then he looked at the map in his hand and smiled. Not bad. This location is pretty good. We can open up trade routes in all directions. We do not have to worry about being sealed off. Lan Xiaobai took out the king medallion and fiddled with it. Then he muttered, I wonder where that fellow went. He wants to reach the blue-robed emperor realm within 2 years. That is too shocking. Fatso smiled and said, Don't overthink. That fellow always surprises people. He might be having fun somewhere right now. Quickly, go and prepare for the handover. This fat lord can't wait to show off. Lan Xiaobai smiled, and the group flew off the Dragon's Gate's warship, officially stepping onto this secret-filled Heavenly Star Island. Heavenly Star Island, Heavenly Starry Ocean. Were these names really a coincidence? Why did Xiao Qun think that the 3 holy masters chose this island for him and not the Thunder King? The results of many things were often unexpected. 2 years later, when Xiao Qun returned, he discovered what kind of wealth this desolate island had given him. However, at this moment, Xiao Qun was not as happy as Fatso made him out to be. In fact, he looked somewhat miserable. Xiao Qun sat weakly on a wooden plank, drifting in a strange sea region. He had no idea where he was. Ao Jiao revealed herself and stood guard by Xiao Qun's side, preventing the sea beasts from attacking. Then she smiled at him and said, Let's see if you still dare to speak such lofty words about reaching the blue-robed emperor realm within 2 years. Right now, you would not be a match for any martial monarch. Xiao Qun revealed a bitter smile on his pale face. How would I know that the item spirit of Neptune's crown is still around? Furthermore, it still hates the blue dragon martial spirit so much. Right now, Xiao Qun was in a miserable state, too miserable to look at. After parting ways with Kim Tae-ho and the others, Xiao Qun followed the clues Long Fei left behind and prepared to go to a forbidden land of the Southern Sea to obtain the Despair Throne. Originally, Xiao Qun had been traveling smoothly, cultivating at the edge of the Southern Sea. Thousands of islands dotted the sea, looking bustling and bustling. However, at this moment, Xiao Qun remembered that he still had Neptune's crown in his universe ring. Back then, after First Elder Han Qinghe interrupted him, he still had not left a mark on it. A crown-type secret treasure represented the might and aura of a monarch. It supported luck and carried the mandate of heaven. Normally, people without a sovereign bloodline could not wear such secret treasures. Such secret treasures had always been rare. The benefits were obvious. They did not have high requirements on the user's cultivation. Xiao Qun thought that, as an emperor-grade secret treasure, Neptune's crown should have some other special effects aside from increasing the might and luck of a monarch. After leaving a mark on it and wearing it, it was as he expected. With Neptune's crown on, Xiao Qun vaguely felt a strong might spread throughout his body. The vast ocean under his feet was his territory. Within a breath, Xiao Qun could flip rivers and seas. His anger and laughter could kick up huge waves. A domain. The special effect of Neptune's crown was actually a domain of the ocean that spanned 500 kilometers. As long as there was an ocean under his feet, the area within 500 kilometers would be his domain. He would be the king of this world. As long as anyone entered, they would suffer from severe restrictions. That person would only be able to bring out 70 to 80% of their strength. Of course, cultivators with domains and powerful experts like Emperor Wu would not be affected. Aside from that, the crown could control the seawater within 500 kilometers at will, suppressing and taming strong spirit beasts. How strong was a domain? It was an existence that could not be comprehended. Even now, Xiao Qun had no idea how to use his saber domain. After wearing the crown and exhausting law energy, Xiao Qun could immediately form a strong domain, nearly doubling his strength. This domain even gave Xiao Chen the confidence to truly fight the blue-robed emperor and defeat him. However, just as Xiao Chen rejoiced, the item spirit in Neptune's crown woke up. When it sensed the blue dragon martial spirit in Xiao Chen's body, it immediately turned into an evil spirit. The will of thunder entered Xiao Chen's sea of consciousness. The domain flowed backward and filled every meridian in his body. Then, before Xiao Chen could react, it exploded. Luck was ethereal, changing unpredictably. This crown also contained Neptune's great luck. Xiao Chen's Blue Dragon King's luck clashed with it, forming bad luck and bad luck. This explosion injured Xiao Chen's origin energy. The resplendent purple lightning talisman dimmed and became indistinct. Even his great perfection saber's soul scattered in his sea of consciousness. The domain energy that spread throughout Xiao Chen's body injured his meridians. The law energy in his dantian also showed visible damage. If Xiao Chen could not recover from his injuries, he would not be able to circulate law energy. His cultivation immediately fell out of martial sage. Fortunately, Xiao Chen's will had the immortal attribute. Otherwise, this explosion would have destroyed his entire sea of consciousness, and his head would have exploded in an instant. The only benefit was that the item spirit in Neptune's crown was no longer present. Thus, there was no more bad luck. In the future, when Xiao Chen used it, something like this would not happen again. However, now that Xiao Chen's cultivation had fallen to martial monarch, he could not use it even if he wanted to. After the item spirit exploded, Xiao Chen fell unconscious. When he woke up, he did not know where he was. If one ran into an ocean current in the sea, it was possible to drift for hundreds of thousands of kilometers in one day. Unfortunately, Ao Jiao told Xiao Chen that he did run into an ocean current and drifted with it for 3 days. Xiao Chen was completely lost in this vast sea. However, Xiao Chen was not in a rush. Although his cultivation had fallen, his physical body remained. 5 Dragon Force was sufficient to fight a Grandmaster-level martial sage. Right now, Xiao Chen was only in a rather weak state. After resting for a few days, his complexion would recover. There was no need to worry about his safety. Xiao Chen's injuries were rather complicated. His great perfection saber's soul scattered, his will weakened, his meridians damaged, and his law energy shattered. Any one of these would be a bolt out of the blue for other cultivators. When combined, it would be a calamity that could destroy any cultivator's future. However, to Xiao Chen, the first few injuries were nothing. Xiao Chen's saber soul had been in the immortal will for a long time and was already close to immortality. As long as the saber intent in his heart was not extinguished, it would never truly scatter. Since the immortal will was called immortal, as long as Xiao Chen was alive, it would not disappear. The damage to his meridians was a small matter for his physical body. As long as Xiao Chen slowly polished himself, he could recover from this. Furthermore, he would be even stronger than before. The only problem was the shattering of his law energy. This made Xiao Chen frown somewhat. He heard from Ao Jiao that he needed an extremely rare medicinal pill to recover. Chapter 10:19. There seems to be another ship coming in front. Ao Jiao said. Xiao Chen did not look at it, only answering casually. Over the past few days, many large ships passed by him. However, after a few glances, they all passed by, ignoring him. Xiao Chen was not in a rush. Since there were ships passing by, he just needed to drift slowly in the direction of these ships. He would eventually find a place with people. This ship seems to be heading for you. I'll enter the immortal spirit ring first. Ao Jiao's figure flashed, turning into a beam of light and entering the immortal spirit ring. Xiao Chen sighed softly and looked up. This ship was completely purple, made of purple cloud rock. It was huge but strangely streamlined. It was a peak sage-ranked ship, considered a pretty good ship. However, it could not compare to the 7-colored warship of the 7 heroes of the dragon that Xiao Chen possessed. Compared to the Dragon's Gate's warship, the difference was like mud to clouds. A flag with an ancient mo embroidered on it was stuck in the bow. Mo? This surname is rather rare. Xiao Chen muttered to himself. As the purple warship approached, Xiao Chen heard some voices coming from the deck. Young miss, it is just an unremarkable martial monarch. Furthermore, he is significantly injured. He probably overestimated himself and failed his adventure in the Forbidden Sea. Ask him where he is going. If it is on the way, give him a ride. Young miss, there is no need to bother with this stranger. Furthermore, this trip is very important. We cannot afford any accidents. It's fine. Uncle Wang, you can ask him. A martial monarch is not a threat to us. The voices belonged to an old man and a young girl. The girl's voice was very melodious. When one heard it, it sounded like a mountain spring, very pleasing to the ear. She had to be a great beauty just from her voice. After the conversation ended, an old man who looked like a housekeeper asked rudely, "Little friend, are you going to Starry Cloud Island? If it is on the way, we can give you a ride." Xiao Chen could not be bothered with this old man, so he ignored him. The other party's words were very rude. Even if he went up, he would have to listen to this person's expression. He might as well drift for a while longer. Seeing that Xiao Chen ignored him, rage flashed on the old man's face. He cursed Xiao Chen for not appreciating favors and withdrew. He whispered a few words to the young lady. Not long after, a beautiful figure appeared at the bow of the ship and looked at Xiao Chen with surprise. Xiao Chen caught a glimpse of her. She was wearing a veil, so he couldn't see her face clearly. However, his gaze stopped on her chest and didn't move away. The woman's eyes turned cold and she quickly retreated. The ship quickly turned around and ignored Xiao Chen. Hee idiot master, when did you start to like this? You scared the girl away, didn't you? Ao Jiao, who was in the immortal spirit ring, giggled. However, her figure is pretty good. It is just a little bit inferior to mine. Xiao Chen smiled helplessly. It seemed that it was really a misunderstanding, but he couldn't miss the ship no matter what. Xiao Chen pushed off the ground with his feet and spread his arms. Then he soared like a flood dragon and landed on the deck of the ship. How dare you barge into the ship? Kill him. The old man who looked like the steward snorted coldly. Two inferior-grade martial sages immediately leaped off the ship and blocked Xiao Chen in midair. They revealed their killing chi and each executed a move at Xiao Chen. Their attacks were cold and emotionless, surging with killing intent. One used a saber, and the other used a sword. The arm-thick heavenly sage laws behind them moved like waves, wildly absorbing the spiritual energy in the air. If Xiao Chen were an ordinary martial monarch, he would die instantly under the lightning-quick attacks of these two. However, naturally, Xiao Chen would not do that. His combat experience and vision were very rich. Even if he was only a martial monarch and did not use his physical body, he would not be able to defeat him. Even if he was only a martial monarch and did not use his physical body, he could still quickly find openings and easily pass through them. Before the startled gazes of everyone on the deck, Xiao Chen seemed to have predicted the trajectory of the two's attacks. He waved his hands and moved like a dragon, landing directly on the deck. The feeling he gave was like the two inferior-grade martial sages were like air, allowing Xiao Chen to pass through them. Plop! The moment he landed on the deck, before he could stand firmly, he felt dizzy. Pain came from the damaged meridians in his body. Xiao Chen's expression changed, and he fell to the ground uncontrollably. Damn it! I forgot that I am still in a weakened state and should not be able to use force. At the very least, I have to wait for my meridians to recover before I can circulate my quintessence. The two movements just now seemed simple and unremarkable. But in the space of an inch, a powerful explosive force, accurate to the millimeter of positioning. In those few movements, not only did Xiao Chen need to be highly focused, but his quintessence also needed to burst forth rapidly, exhausting a vast amount of mental energy and quintessence. In an instant, Xiao Chen's old injuries were aggravated. He was already very weak in the first place, and his body needed to rest and recuperate. Originally, Uncle Wang was still immersed in the miraculous scene that Xiao Chen performed earlier. When he saw Xiao Chen fall flat on his face, he could not help but laugh loudly. I was wondering where an absolute genius came from. It turns out that he was just a blind cat running into a dead mouse. Capture him. Even Uncle Wang, a superior-grade martial sage, could not understand what Xiao Chen had demonstrated earlier, the mountain rampart technique. At first, Uncle Wang thought that it was Xiao Chen who had a startling movement technique. However, Xiao Chen's subsequent performance caught him off guard. He thought to himself that he had nearly been fooled. Kasu. The moment Xiao Chen flipped over, a weapon flickering with cold light pressed against his neck. The cultivators on the ship surrounded him tightly. The weapons pressed against his flesh and scratched his skin. As long as Xiao Chen made any strange movements, he would be decapitated and die without a complete corpse. When Xiao Chen saw such a lineup, he could not help but smile bitterly to himself. It had been so many years. Ever since Xiao Chen made his debut, he had never been in such a situation, with so many people pressing their weapons against his neck. Furthermore, these were a group of martial monarchs that he did not care about at all. However, his current situation was extremely dangerous. With 10 odd weapons pressed against his neck, if the other party really wanted to kill him, even if Ao Jiao possessed his body, it would be too late. However, given Xiao Chen's physical body, if these people did not use their full power, they might not be able to kill him in one strike. However, injuries on top of injuries were unavoidable. Speak honestly. Are you a member of the Lu clan? What is your purpose in waiting here? Uncle Wang did not like Xiao Chen in the first place. When he saw that Xiao Chen was restrained, he immediately berated him. Xiao Chen looked around and casually sized up the cultivators on the ship. Aside from the 4 martial sages, the rest were all martial monarchs. He immediately guessed that this was a rank 6 clan. In the Kunlun continent, this clan would only be a third-rate faction, not worth mentioning. In the heavenly starry ocean, it would probably be an unknown small clan. Hearing the old man's question, Xiao Chen replied calmly, "What purpose does old sir think a martial monarch like me can have by waiting here? I just want to ask for a free ride. Just give me a ride." However, this old man asked you earlier, "Are you deaf?" Xiao Chen smiled and said, "I used my actions to answer old sir. However, old sir welcomed me with a sword and saber. I wonder what your intentions are?" Xiao Chen's words were flawless, without any flaws. However, Uncle Wang felt that Xiao Chen had another purpose. Seeing that Xiao Chen was indeed just a martial monarch, Uncle Wang waved his hand and said, "Toss him off the ship. There is no need to care about him." The group immediately put away their weapons and picked up Xiao Chen. Then, they prepared to toss him into the sea without any hesitation. "Wait a moment. Since it is on the way, give him a ride. Let him leave when we reach Starry Cloud Island." That melodious voice came from the ship's hold again. The cultivators immediately stopped what they were doing and looked at Uncle Wang. Uncle Wang thought for a while. He knew that his young miss had always been kind-hearted. He sighed to himself and waved his hand. "Clean up a room in the warehouse for him to stay in. I'm warning you, you'd best stay in the room and not barge around. Otherwise, it will not be as simple as tossing you into the sea." Xiao Chen performed a cupped fist salute in thanks. Right now, he indeed needed a quiet environment to recuperate. "Go in. This is your room. If there is nothing important, don't come out." The 2 Mo clan cultivators led Xiao Chen into the room. After giving him a warning, they quickly left. Naturally, the room that was cleaned up in the warehouse was not much better. Aside from a simple bed, it was littered with junk that had not been moved out in time. A light flashed on Xiao Chen's forehead as he circulated the will of ice in his sea of consciousness. A cold wind blew, clearing the room once more. Then he stopped using the will of ice. Right now, the immortal will of thunder was indistinct and difficult to use. The only thing that Xiao Chen could use freely was the will of ice that he had looked down on previously. "How is it? Are you all right?" Ao Jiao appeared in the immortal spirit ring. She asked out of concern as she held Xiao Chen's wrist with one hand. The scene just now had frightened her badly. Xiao Chen smiled and let Ao Jiao check his injuries. "Fortunately, I did not act rashly. Otherwise, if I really made a move, the injuries to my meridians would have been problematic." Ao Jiao withdrew her hand and heaved a sigh of relief. Seeing that Xiao Chen was fine, Ao Jiao returned to her normal self and joked, "Oh, right. Why did you insist on boarding this warship? Did you really? How could that be? There should be a pendant under her clothes. I feel that it was refined from one of the 7 thrones." Ao Jiao exclaimed in shock, "That can't be. What a coincidence." Xiao Chen said seriously, "Most likely." The 3 thrones in the cycle banner all had an intense reaction. "As long as I take another look, I will be 100% sure." The 7 thrones were massacre, ruin, pain, grief, despair, and death. Now, Xiao Chen had collected 3, massacre, death, and ruin. He already knew the location of the despair throne. It was in a forbidden land of the southern sea. If the pendant on this girl's chest was really refined from one of the thrones, then it should be one of the grief, pain, and ruin thrones. Ao Jiao smiled and said, "That is really a change in luck. The misfortune brought by Neptune's crown is completely gone. There is no need to worry anymore." Xiao Chen nodded and thought for a while. Then he said, "I'll treat my injuries first. Go out and scout out where exactly this place is in the heavenly starry ocean. Don't expose yourself." Ao Jiao smiled faintly. Then her figure flashed, turning into a bolt of lightning as she left through the crack in the door. At the same time, in the most important control room of the warship, the veiled Miss Mo and Uncle Wang were discussing the new passenger. "Uncle Wang, with your eyesight, was that person's dodging 2 killing moves a coincidence, or was it really that miraculous?" Uncle Wang smiled and said, "It was definitely just a coincidence. That kind of dodging in such a small space, the precise positioning, the skill and eyesight involved are things that even I can't do. How could an insignificant martial monarch do it?" You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.